What's going on? Just a hair before 10 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The Titans' luck didn't stop after they made the number one overall pick because they get to stay at the top of the waiver order. They'll actually stay at the top of the waiver order through the first 3 weeks of the NFL season. The team claimed outside linebacker Titus Leo and defensive back Mark Perry while waiving offensive lineman Isaiah Prince and Arlington Hambright. If you want a broad breakdown of the entire Titans 2025 NFL draft, then you need to be at the install with Greg Cosell as they talk about the pros and cons of every single draft pick with Titans head coach Brian Callahan live this Friday, May 2nd at the Analog Room at the Hutton Hotel. You need to be there. Tickets available at 1045thezone.com. Got some information on fifth-year options as the Kansas City Chiefs are exercising the fifth-year options for both Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis. The Jaguars announced they would not be exercising Devin Lloyd's fifth-year option. Also heard about the Falcons with Drake London. They will approve his fifth-year option. The deadline to do so is tomorrow, May 1st. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Oh, what a beautiful day in Middle Tennessee. Thanks for stopping in. It's just Robert and me for the rest of the week, but that's all right. We'll get it done. Got a lot of things to talk about. Going to get into some Titans love. You've seen the Titans dismissed plenty of times when you talk about them in the national landscape, but there is one article in particular today that I think you're going to like regarding your value added in this year's NFL draft class for the Tennessee Titans. But the place that we have to start this morning is something that I was thinking about last night, something that a lot of you guys have brought up, a lot of you all have pondered, a lot of you all have wished for in particular, and that is the status of Treylon Burks and what all the new additions to the wide receiver room, where there's 3 new veterans, 2 draft picks, one guy who I would consider a priority undrafted rookie free agent in Xavier Restrepo, and the existing commodities on the roster that make the idea of keeping Treylon Burks, or rather cutting Treylon Burks, something you have to consider. But we'll get into that throughout the course of today's show. 615-737-1045 is the number. F&M Bank Chat at your disposal. Good morning, Robert. How's morale?
It's low. It's just me and you. I miss Lucas. I need my buddy back, my big booty buddy. He could be the Triple B, too. Big Boss Bert and Big Booty Buddy.
I'm so sorry for you that you just lost in the wilderness. It's not enough that I'm willing to go out and smoke cigarettes with you in the morning before the show.
No, I have to.
That's my olive branch. That's my.
I do feel like we're closer.
Means of diplomacy. Well, it's only because we're physically closer, and then I spend the next 3 hours, but in a separate room from you, separated by about 2 foot of soundproof glass, which makes me happy.
Yes, one thing that doesn't make me happy is having to hang out with TBB. I'm not talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm talking about Tiny Booty Buck. You've got that terrible disease, the no-acetol disease.
That's not true. That's simply not true.
You've got no driving power, Buck. You'd be a terrible defensive lineman. You can't set the edge.
I am listen, just because Lucas is like 5'4", okay, and I'm 6'2", it does not mean that I'm not capable of getting it done in the trenches if need be. But I will say that it's easier for him to maintain pad level than it is for me. But that's neither here nor there. So let's talk about Treylon Burks at this point in time, because I was pondering this and I, just doing a little due diligence, and this is not the first time that I've looked into it, but obviously since all the new additions, all the different players that they added. So let's give you the current construct of the Titans wide receiver room. You have already on the roster prior to free agency in the draft, Calvin Ridley, Colton Dow, Tay Martin, Titans legend, Mason Kinsey, Bryce Oliver, Jaquan Jackson, Treylon Burks, who, by the way, ended the season on injured reserve. You bring in addition to those existing commodities, James Prochet, Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson, so 3 new vets, 2 rookies that were drafted, both in the 4th round on day 3. And then, as I mentioned, Xavier Restrepo comes in here to reunite with Cam Ward after he falls out of the draft entirely, becomes a free agent proposition for Tennessee, and a free agent that a lot of people are going to look to see how he competes in camp, whether or not the 40 was something to clutch your pearls about or not, and to see if he can recreate some of the magic that he was able to produce even before Cam Ward arrived at Miami. He was a hugely productive player, but then seeing how Cam Ward helped Xavier Restrepo take his game to the next level, and Cam Ward helped everybody at Miami take their game to the next level. An interesting thing to ponder. So, what's the biggest thing working in Trailon Burks' favor? Robert, can you take a guess? You may know the answer to this question.
Is it the money?
It is the money indeed. To cut a player on his rookie deal still, while not picking up his 5th-year option, at least they haven't made anything official through the team or the team website, but we talked to Chad Brinker about this on Monday and Mike Borgonzi about this on Monday. They said no official determination has been made yet regarding Treylon Burks' 5th-year option, but Chad Brinker literally, Robert, said, yeah, but probably not.
Usually they keep those things close to the vest. They want to have it be a mystery if they're going to pick it up or not, but I think he could see through the guys and knew that we all also knew.
Yeah, I mean, we all know. Like, there are some things, even the sham of, well, I don't know if we're drafting Cam Ward. Okay, boys, like, let's all agree that you're drafting this quarterback. Yeah, but I don't know yet. No, okay, but you're not taking any phone calls for the number 1 overall pick in the pre-draft press conference. Yeah, but that doesn't mean we're taking Cam Ward. Okay, whatever you say. But the Treylon Burks thing, let's just cards on the table, okay? He has been derailed by injury to the point where he was never able to consistently develop as a professional wide receiver and never able to produce consistently as a professional wide receiver, to the point where you're talking about multiple concussions, several different kinds of knee strains, and then last year, a non-contact ACL issue that wasn't a complete tear, but ultimately that they decided to shut him down, have him go through an ACL repair surgery, which means that there's not a lot of hope or not a lot of promise of Treylon Burks being ready for the start of the regular season, much less training camp and the voluntary work, though he continues to rehab and all of the things that you do when you go through an injury like that. The money, though, is the biggest thing working in Treylon Burks' favor. Do you know off the top of your head how much it would cost to release Treylon Burks outright?
Say before June 1st, because I know it changes after June 1st.
It does not in this particular situation.
Okay, so I believe I was at over the cap earlier. It's $4.5 million.
4.57 and change to release him.
Correct.
That's either pre or post June
Okay,
1.
so the site I was looking at said that it would be sort of split. I think I was at over the cap. No, I was at Spot Track. So it says that if he was released after 6-1, they would have a dead cap of 1.9 and have a potential cap savings of 2.6. So that's something I'd have to look into.
Over the cap is what I cited yesterday when I was looking this up, and over the cap did not have a differentiation.
Okay, I generally lean over the cap, so
I tend to, too, because they do have that tool to allow you to toggle between pre and post June 1. But, you know, these things are subjective. It's not like it's the team's official salary cap information that's being detailed there. They're working with as much information as they're able to get their hands on, and they do a good job of getting as much information as humanly possible. But just to confirm, I'm on over the cap right now. Pre-June 1, a dead cap hit with zero savings of 4.572 and change. If he is released post-June 1, at least over the cap is saying that there is no differentiation there. Perhaps Spot Track has additional information that we are not currently privy to. But either way, you're eating money.
It's still worth to note, the 2.6 that you would save would be a drop in the bucket to, I assume they have around $30 million left in salary cap space. So you need that for your rookie pool. You need to sign your entire rookie class. You need that for injuries and additions during the season. And then they would need some money potentially for another addition at the trade deadline or signing a big veteran somehow. But other than that, you don't really need the money for cutting Traylon. It wouldn't be a life-altering amount of money for the Titans in 2025.
My thing is, with Treylon Burks in particular, because I would be fine moving on from him regardless. I think you can find better players, more available players. I know he's a former first-round pick, but obviously, I mean, the guy hasn't even eclipsed 700 total receiving yards, career receiving yards. He's got the one receiving touchdown to his name in Philadelphia where he got his face smashed in, but still hung on to the ball, to his credit. And I believe that was his first concussion in a couple of them that he's had in his yet young career as a former 2022 first-round draft pick out of Arkansas. But for Treylon in particular, the money is already spent. You are in this position with a rookie in the fourth year of his deal and not a lot of financial flexibility that it provides to you. Maybe they've seen enough because they did try this Trailon Burks thing for, the first 6 weeks of the season, trying to get Trailon Burks involved, giving Trailon Burks more snaps at the time than Nick Westbrook-Akina. He was DeAndre Hopkins' primary backup as Hop, never missed a game necessarily, but was dealing with a knee situation at the start of the year that at least limited his participation in games and in practice. So Trailon Burks was the primary backup X to DeAndre Hopkins, even though we all knew the coaching staff wanted to F around and find out, and that's fine, as is their right, I suppose. There's plenty of other teams that will take chances on former first-round picks because of the pedigree and because of the talent that a lot of those guys, because of the potential, right? We traffic in potential so much in this league without the potential actually being realized. This coaching staff messed around, found out. Trailon Burks then plays himself out of the lineup, and Nick Westbrook-Akina is again reinserted into the lineup to the point where he is the leading touchdown receiver or leading touchdown getter on the football team last year with 9 total, even though he did it, I think, on like 25 or 26 catches, something outrageous in terms of a lack of volume. I guess if he ended up on the initial 53-man roster, they wouldn't have to put him on the initial 53-man roster because of his injury situation. He could very well start on PUP, physically unable to perform. And that would at least give them some additional time to roster some of these other receivers while keeping Trailon Burks on the injury back burner and then, making whatever decision with Trailon that they might make as the season progressed. But a December ACL repair surgery, I'm assuming this guy's not going to be anywhere close to ready until, late October? Start of November? Especially given his particular history with how difficult it is to get him going, get him ramped up. He is somebody who also came in as a rookie with conditioning stuff. The asthma situation was well documented. I don't know how big of a setback that's going to put on him on top of having to come back from injury and then not necessarily being in football shape. You're going to have to ramp him back up into football game shape, which would require you taking snaps from somebody else. By the time that he gets out there, I'm assuming that they're not going to want to give his snaps or somebody else's snaps to Trailon Burks just for the sake of, all right, we're going to F around and find out again.
Yeah, and do we know if he suffered a setback in the offseason?
Not to my knowledge.
So we don't know his timeline exactly about where he would be?
No.
So it would be argued that he would start the year on the PUP, the physically unable to perform list, rather than the NFI or something else. I excuse my ignorance, but I was under the impression that he had a setback in the offseason.
No.
Okay.
There's no, at least no information that I've seen to that effect, nothing that they've said about Treylon Burks other than he had a late ACL repair. And to your point, like I said, physically unable to perform is the most likely scenario for Trailon Burks at the start of the regular season, which would allow them to shelf him for the time being. So what percentage chance would I put on Trailon Burks being on the roster whenever it is time for them to make a roster transaction decision on him? I'd still put it at north of 50%, 55%. Because there's no immediacy, there's no urgency really with him to have to make that kind of roster transaction, even though, just like so many of you out there, the Titans organization is done with the Trailon Burks experience. It's just a matter of biding their time. Yeah, him too. That idiot. Wearing his Trailon Burks jersey at the draft party. Take that dumbass stuff off.
Come
I almost
on.
said a bad word.
What if you had a bounce back? What if this year?
Traylon?
Yeah, what would a bounce back? I know we got to get out of here. What would a bounce back for Traylon look like where you would go, okay, if he had 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, would you be like,
This season?
Yes, this season.
I mean, that would be more than half of his current career production.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess that wouldn't be a reason to keep him, but it would be considered a bounce back given that this player has, I think he is stuck at 699 career receiving yards and he has 1 receiving touchdown. He has 1 fumble recovery touchdown because Derek fumbled on the goal line and he recovered it.
Traylon is slowly trudging toward bye territory. I think everyone's opinion of him is so low that eventually I'll be able to say if he has 150 yards, is that a win? And I would take that. I would take it.
Slay wouldn't take the bet last year. And here, this fraud, this
Don't do him like that.
Yeah, do him like that. He's the one who keeps trotting out here in that jersey. I'm not making him wear the jersey. He damn well would have tried to make me wear the jersey if Trailon Burks had done a damn thing last year. But, of course, we know how that went. So, you're looking to add value. You're looking to build up your roster. You're looking to find as many different contributors as soon as humanly possible right out of the gate. Well, Field Yates, who's one of the best draft analysts out there, really liked the Titans draft to the point where the Titans showed up 3 different times on Field Yates's list of favorite draft picks and acquisitions. So we'll get into that specifically coming up next. We'll take your phone calls. 615-737-1045 is the number. Somebody on YouTube says Burke's going to put up 375 and a touchdown. Watch the F out. All right. Don't threaten me with a good time. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Trajan Wealth is here to help you like they've helped so many other people in their company's history. They now have 2 locations here in Middle Tennessee to serve you, both Brentwood and Franklin, and you want to make sure you're hitting the buzzer beater with your retirement goals. Call Trajan Wealth today to learn more about their tailored wealth management solutions because you want to make sure that you're planning ahead. And the simple truth is that there is more to retirement planning than simply calculating your expenses. Trajan Wealth can help you design a strategy based on realistic options that align with your goals and with your specific set of circumstances. So call Trajan Wealth today at 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000 or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement.
Hey guys, Lucas here to tell you about Music City's coolest new spot and your go-to spot. If you're looking for a place to watch the national championship game tonight between Houston and Florida, it is Fog Street Lawn Club. Perfect for all sports. It's also Nashville's premier soccer pub. The best place to go watch Nashville SC games, and it's open early for Premier League action, even for those 6 a.m. kickoffs. But no matter the sport, like tonight, with March Madness coming to an end, Fog Street Lawn Club is going to make sure that you have a perfect viewing experience, and you'll never get bored. Check out the rooftop. It's the most picture-perfect view of downtown Nashville you can find. Play British-style lawn bowling with your friends or cornhole on the rooftop for free, or head next door. Challenge your buddies to some axe throwing at Bad Axe. Located near the Gulch in the upcoming Pytown neighborhood, Fog Street Lawn Club will give you the experience of downtown Nashville with a perfect escape from all the hustle and bustle. It's family-friendly, great for all sports fans. You can even host special events at an awesome venue. Not to mention the awesome menu of British pub-style food and a large drink selection. Check out Happy Hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. Check them out tonight for the national championship game at Fog Street Lawn Club, located on Fog Street.
Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. So Lucas decided he was going to mail in his live reads, did he? He got dated ones from the national championship game running. Whose fault is that? Yours or his?
It's my fault.
Are you sure?
100% my fault.
Don't cape up for your boyfriend. It's okay. He's not here. We can take him out. This is the fun of him not being here. We can say all manner of nasty things and blame him for all manner of things, just like he does to me.
That's my man.
Mm-hmm. 615-737-1045, the number. We're going to talk about Field Yates' latest piece on ESPN.com, where he talked about his favorite picks in every round of the NFL draft, and the Titans receiving a lot of love. Speaking of loving the Titans draft picks, you can be in the house to love on Brian Callahan if you want to, and Greg Cosell, with the live taping of the install with Titans head coach Brian Callahan. Greg Cosell flying in from NFL Films. I'll be there to monitor the situation and just try and stay out of the smart football people's way. It's this Friday, 2 days from now, kids. Bert, how many tickets we sell yesterday? 12?
12 tickets, Diddy.
We are under, what? We've got less than 40 tickets remaining.
Correct.
You can, if you want to, get these tickets at the door. But I will tell you that the line to get into the venue, much less to get up there to purchase the tickets, it will make more sense for you to purchase the tickets ahead of time if you're on the fence about the situation. You can be there live as Cosell and Callahan break down the Titans 2025 draft class and free agency acquisitions, of which there are many, and take your questions from the audience and more thanks to Two Rivers Ford, Hattie B's, Monkey Shoulder Scotch Whiskey, Milagro Tequila, and wholesale supply. Like I said, a limited number of tickets are still available to purchase. Visit 1045thezone.com today.
Still taking submissions for what I can put under Brian Callahan's chair this year.
How about not?
Come on. I want to be a part of this. I want
You want clout.
I want to get the face value.
I have created a monster, is what I've
done.
A
little clout demon.
You started asking me to let you be a part of experiences and things like that. And then we decided we were going to make you the star of the zoo video, which was a good decision by all parties involved. But the fact that you are still a week and a half later, 10 days later, watching your own zoo video so that you can drive up your own views on the YouTube channel and try and be a part of the live show the way that you hid a chef's hat under Rand Carthon's chair last year, at some point, you have to be stopped.
I don't remember it that way, but I will say, if you haven't seen it, we went to the Nashville Zoo, talked to a lot of animals. It's on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube page. We need like 37 views to get to 1K, which, in my opinion, is a roaring success. Halftime, that's the good thing about the Zone TV audience. If we put things on there that's not worth a darn, they ain't going to watch it. So I'm very proud of the work that I was able to accomplish solely with me and Lucas. And Justin, fantastic job by Justin.
Yes, I'm sure that the zoo would have allowed you, that group of vagabonds in their enclosures without, a little bit of a special ask.
Somewhere I'd like to be in the enclosures with. Field Yates' favorite picks in the NFL draft.
Yeah, that's about as professional a transition as could be expected from you in that moment.
That
well
was
done.
Mickey Ryan-esque. Come on.
Mickey Ryan is still the greatest of all time. Just general radio operation, the mechanics of radio, there's nobody better than Mickey. Mickey, who's, by the way, his daughter is now touring, I'm pretty sure, with Mason Ramsey.
She is incredibly talented.
She's awesome. Well, it's just a very talented family.
Very talented.
So anyway, we hope Mickey's doing well. I need to touch base with him at some point. Anyway, value added in the draft. Obviously, you look at the top picks in the draft and you say, okay, but what about the value? Not a lot of people are going to bust Chad Breaker and Mike Borgonzi's balls about drafting Cam Ward number 1 overall, even though they said they were going to go best player available and not be beholden to need. There's reason to believe that Cam Ward may have not been the best prospect in the class. Now, Mike Borgonzi was asked about this specifically, about Cam Ward being the number 1 player on the draft board, and he said yes. Reasonable minds can disagree. Titans were entrenched in that position. I have no reason to doubt the veracity of that. So, okay, Cam Ward's the number 1 player. They take him number 1 overall. That's fine. Value added. He immediately raises the floor, as we've talked about at this roster, because this roster is in bad shape, or was in bad shape, and they are trying to get it off the schneid. Improving at the quarterback position is the fastest way to get the most amount of value out of your team. But elsewhere in the draft, you're looking at the decisions that they made, trading out of 35, picking up 52 and 82 from Seattle. You're looking at the way that they maneuvered around on day 3 to trade back up in the 4th round to get Alec Iamaner. I think I got it right the first time today. And obviously, he was the second wide receiver that they drafted in the 4th round. It was interesting to see James Gladstone, the Jaguars general manager, talking about the value added of Travis Hunter. Because, of course, where Cam Ward went number 1, the Cleveland Browns traded number 2 for a package of picks for the Jacksonville Jaguars to come up and add, arguably, the only generational talent in this draft class, a player who we've not seen the likes of before, and a player who's going to be very interesting to follow along with in his NFL career. This is James Gladstone at Travis Hunter's introductory press conference.
Yeah, as we sit here, Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar, and really what comes to mind for me, right, thinking about the sport of football and really the power of the game itself, right, its capacity to ignite belief, right? Belief in ourselves, belief in others, right? Belief in achieving what many may deem impossible. Travis Hunter, he embodies belief, right? He's a rare person, he's a rare player, but he's also a reminder that the boundaries of the game of football were built to be challenged. And so the decision to select him was actually a statement for how we plan to move, who we are, and we want him to be nothing more than him. Because when he is, he elevates the space around him. From the football field to the city to the game of football itself, Travis Hunter is who we've been hunting up. Couldn't be more jacked to be sitting right here beside him and introduce you all to the man of the hour.
Okay. Lovely. All the applause for Travis Hunter. Why did he treat Travis Hunter as the second coming of football Jesus Christ?
Well, I'll give a hat tip to Will Bowling this morning. It sounded like he was like when the youth leader gets to go to do the big service. Don't we feel like he's here to press the boundaries of football? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Will did a great job with it this morning.
I guess the Jags are in the same kind of predicament as a franchise like the Titans, right? Where there's no reason to pay attention to Jacksonville other than they've added a very, very unique player that's going to immediately give them some juice. Now, how much he's going to elevate them as a wide receiver versus as a corner, that's a conversation that I think a lot of people are going to have. That seems to be the preferred position for Travis Hunter because the money is significantly better at wide receiver than it is at corner, though the money at corner isn't bad. Somebody on YouTube asks, did ChatGPT write that diatribe for James Gladstone, the babyface general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars? And I bring up that specific piece of audio because Field Yates wrote this piece on his favorite picks of every round in the NFL draft. Travis Hunter was his number one in round one. He said, I could have written this section prior to the draft as any team acquiring Hunter would have landed one of the most unique prospects of all time. I could not have predicted the Jaguars making a bold trade up to the Browns' number 2 pick for him. Hunter has legitimate Pro Bowl ability on either side of the ball, and he instantly forms one of the most exciting receiver duos in the league with Brian Thomas Jr. But it's not just Travis Hunter and the Jags that Field Yates is loving on. He's a big fan of what the Titans were able to add with their personnel decisions, not just in the draft pick process, but also in undrafted free agency. So the first time that the Titans appear on this list is in the 3rd round with Kevin Winston Jr. Now, I don't know where Kevin Winston Jr. would have been drafted had he played all of last year. Made it through September, tore the ACL in his left knee, sat out the rest of the season, sat out their playoff run, still regarded as one of the best leaders in that locker room and for that program last year. And Nick Saban was adamant. I didn't see the draft coverage with Saban specifically, but Lucas sent me the clip of Saban saying, yeah, if this guy would have played, he would have been a first-round pick. No doubt in my mind. If Nick Saban feels that way, specifically about a defensive back, far be it for me to push back on him. I asked Mike Borgonzi about the value of getting Kevin Winston Jr. in the 3rd round, where they did at pick number 82. That was the second of their day 3 picks. It's the 3rd round pick that they were able to acquire via the trade with the Seattle Seahawks. So I know a lot of people were bitching about moving out of 35 and then bitched even more when they moved out of 35 and took a project pass rusher at 52 and a safety that didn't play last year, basically. But you got needs everywhere, guys. Pass rush, secondary, all of the things on this roster were bad last year, save the field goal kicker and the long snapper. And Tony Pollard, to his credit. By the way, happy birthday, Tony Pollard. I am so...
Happy birthday, Tony.
Mm-hmm. So, Kevin Winston Jr. is the best value pick according to the pundits, according to the draft analysts, according to the Titans themselves, that they were able to pull in this year's draft. So we have no idea where he actually would have been drafted had he been healthy to make this a different kind of conversation. I have to imagine that based on the profile of the player, based on the qualities that he brings on the field and off the field, that if he was healthy, safe bet he would have gone before 82. So fast recovery apparently is what he's got going for him. Just 6 months after the ACL repair surgery, Field notes that he ran a 4.5 in the 40 at Penn State's Pro Day. Abdul Carter didn't run at the Pro Day, by the way. Kevin Winston Jr. did. Appears to be on track as an early contributor for Tennessee. And this was my pick yesterday for the player who I think is going to contribute after Cam Ward the most in his rookie season. Because whether he finds his way onto the field as a starter, and I think we assign too much value to the word starter. It's just who's out there for the first defensive snap. All right, that's that specific game starters. Who's out there for the first offensive snap? Okay, those are considered the offensive starters for that particular week. If they come out in 2 tight end sets, if they come out in 3 wide receiver sets, then the 3 wide receivers or the 2 tight ends, those would technically be starters for that game. It's a little too much value on that specific word. But I think that Kevin Winston Jr. can either find his way into the regular starting lineup, or he can be an immediate contributor as a third safety depending on their multiple DB packages that they deploy under Denard Wilson, and they do that at a high level. I am looking at him and thinking, all right, if you can get, would this draft class be a success if Cam Ward was the only day one starter that they pulled out of it? That would be a tough thing for me to justify, even though the quarterback is the most important player, because you have 9 total selections and you have a roster that's down tremendous. You need to find contributors right out of the gate. These guys are going to be expected to compete right out of the gate. They're going to be expected to contribute, whether it be on special teams, whether it be in packages on defense, whether it be in certain personnel sets on offense. These guys are going to get on the field in some form or fashion. But if they came out of it with 2 starters on day one, Kevin Winston Jr. and Cam Ward, I might feel significantly better about the trajectory of this draft class and how much more value they're going to be able to get out of it. Now, the rest of the Titans picks or players that were added through the draft process and then the undrafted process that Field Yates cites are Aya Manor, the wide receiver out of Stanford, and then Xavier Restrepo, who he says is his favorite undrafted free agent signing. He had apparently an affinity for Restrepo in the pre-draft process. There's not a lot of reason to be so bent out of shape about the 40 time, right? People are going to talk about it. People are going to make jokes about it. I'm sure if he looks slow at all at any point in training camp and OTAs and rookie minicamp, preseason games, people are going to pounce on it because that's what the internet does. But I just, is it too dismissive to say I don't care about his pro day 40 time? He can't be cement block feet, and 4.8 would connote for a wide receiver cement block feet, but that's not who that player is. That's not what you see when you watch him for Miami at any point in his career there. So I don't think that I care nearly as much about the 40 time that he ran at the Miami Pro Day on a bum hammy as I do what I think he's going to be able to contribute to this team. I have no idea how he'll acquit himself in a professional training camp. But it's hard to not look at that situation and say, yeah, it would be surprising if Jaquan Jackson was on this roster over Xavier Restrepo for a variety of different reasons. But Field Yates, with a lot of love for the Titans draft, a lot of these wide receivers coming in here going to contribute in some form or fashion right out of the gate. The question is, just how much are they going to be comfortable putting them on the field by the time we actually get around to playing games in September?
I thought it was funny last night on primetime. Someone asked Sam Phelan if Xavier Restrepo was better than Mason Kinsey.
Yes.
And I would say unequivocally yes. As much respect as due. But you could I couldn't even hear an argument for someone to say that Mason Kinsey would be better than Xavier Restrepo.
Did that person have an argument, or did they just simply ask the question?
They were genuinely asking at this point who would be the more likely candidate to be retained, and I think 100% it would be Xavier Restrepo.
Yeah, I mean Kinsey's always been a practice squad guy that gets called up, and to the point where he hit enough accrued games to get an NFL pension, which is a huge deal for somebody like that. So a credit to him, and he's a D3 wide receiver out of Berry College that's lasted, what are we coming up on? We may be coming up on his 5th NFL season, or at least his 5th NFL training camp.
Didn't you say he accrued enough games to be, what was the phrasing of it?
No, I mean, he's going to be a part of the NFL pension plan because he was rostered enough through his career, which again is a huge milestone for those guys.
Yeah, good for him.
It's a huge sigh of relief. So Mason Kinsey's NFL career is already, to me, an unmitigated success. But that doesn't mean that he's better than Xavier Restrepo just because he's lasted in the league. And Xavier Restrepo just got here. 615-737-1045 is the number. Which team still has the most unsettled quarterback situation? We're going to dive into that following the draft and the post-draft free agency. Coming up next, your phone calls too. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Friends, if you're new to Nashville or you've been here a long time, odds are you've got a clean-out project that the missus wanted to see done by the spring, and it's almost summer. Well, let me tell you, the most reliable folks I know that can help you are my friends at J&J Services. For over 20 years, J&J Services have been providing dumpsters for local businesses, construction sites, home clean-outs, and demolitions. They provide commercial dumpster service for your favorite restaurants and convenience stores. They provide roll-off dumpster service for everyone from 60-story high-rises to your neighbor's farm. J&J Services can offer trash compactors to make those large loads a little bit smaller, and they can supply you with porta potties for your special event. For the safest, most reliable service that you can find in Middle Tennessee, call them today for a free quote at 615-599-7778. JNJServices.com, where they always keep it trashy.
Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. In fact, me and Bert have already put in our Hattie B's orders.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
For the day, it'll be here in about 15 minutes. We're getting it fresh off the grill. Well, I went with grilled tenders. You also went with grilled tenders. You trying to get in a swimsuit season? What's going on back there?
Yeah, I got a fitness Speedo Shine ordered for me. It's like a damn rubber band right now.
That woman should never order you anything ever again for the way that you talked about her on air yesterday, which I'm going to tell her at some point.
No.
I just haven't decided when.
Well, she's not coming to the install.
You can be at the install if you would like. Friday, May the 2nd, this Friday, as a matter of fact. Tickets still available. Come hang out with Titans head coach Brian Callahan and Greg Cosell. 1045thezone.com is where you go. First time Brian Callahan's going to speak about the entire draft class is going to be with us.
And what I think is cool is it's not just him talking about it, not just reading their notes. You know what I mean? He submitted plays to break down with you guys, right?
Yeah, he texted me this morning because I sent him the list of plays that Greg wanted to pull. And he sent me a few more Cam Ward cuts that he wants to add to that list, or at least one more Cam Ward cut that he wants to add to that list as of this morning. So if you want to see your head coach break down your new quarterback and the rest of your draft class and the free agents, 1045thezone.com is where you go. We are going to talk about teams who are still unsettled at the quarterback position here in just a second, but you brought up something quarterback adjacent right as we were coming back from commercial break.
Yeah, I saw that Netflix put out the trailer for the Brett Favre documentary they're putting out. It'll be May 20th. I always enjoy when good sports documentaries come in the dead season because it gives us half of something to talk about. But this looks really interesting. The first thing that I said, or you said when I brought this up to you was what?
Is he involved?
That's a great question. From the trailer, I was not able to distinguish that. So if he is not involved, I'm 100% in. If he is involved, then I am probably about 40% in.
Yeah, because it doesn't mean that those things can't still be entertaining. And I know that this is such a lame hill for me to die on. Most sports fans don't care about it. But I personally don't think it's lame. I think it's a valid criticism of a lot of this stuff. We are in an age where athletes are able to control their own narrative, which is really great. It gives you a lot more insight and access and more genuine conversations amongst peers than you would ever get from third-party media going about the interview process and players just trying to duck and dodge our questions to say something or to avoid saying something that would be inflammatory or controversial or whatever, where they can just be more relaxed amongst friends. A lot of these podcasts have taken that theme. The place where I take a little bit of issue with it is where people like Brett Favre, if they are involved with the production of a documentary about Brett Favre, I'm sure there are some things that Brett Favre doesn't want out there in the world. And I'm sure that Brett Favre, if he's involved, is being paid something to be involved with it. Again, I have no idea Brett Favre's level of involvement with this documentary or not.
Yeah, when I click through the trailer, he does not address the camera. Usually in those things, they'll have like a slow reveal of someone walking up and sitting at a table or the microphone. He does not address the camera anywhere in that trailer. So,
okay.
So I would guess that it would be kind of in the same vein of what Netflix did with Vince McMahon, which was a great documentary because Vince was not a part of it. Vince wasn't able to say, oh, I don't want that included.
Well, he was until he wasn't.
Because eventually it was going to be...
the way that it started was with Vince, and then he gets pulled out of the room in the middle of a lawsuit.
It was going to be an autobiographical because WWE had just signed that big deal with Netflix.
Yeah.
So this was going to be part of their content package. And then Vince is like, well, I'm going to put out my own documentary about my own story that I get to tell the truth. It's like, no, dude, no one's going to believe you. No one's going to believe that, oh, yeah, this is really what happened. I'm Vince. Like, come on, man.
So that's the only reason that I take issue with some of these documentaries that are being produced, because they're not all sunshine and butterflies and winning and rainbows the way that a lot of athletes would like to present themselves. And that's fine, because I think that they've not had control over their narrative for the vast majority of athletes being covered by media. Now they have the opportunity to take some control, take more control over it, and I think there's just been an overcorrection. So I like the best sports documentary I've seen, there's two, all right? The O.J. Simpson 6-part 30 for 30 that won the Oscar.
Incredible.
That's still the best piece of television I've ever seen in my life. The second is HBO's 2-parter on Tiger Woods, because Tiger was not involved, and I think they got to just about everything that they could in 2 hours of Tiger Woods without Tiger Woods' involvement that Tiger Woods wouldn't have let them anywhere near for obvious reasons, because, I mean, there's a certain, it's not just protecting him personally, it's protecting his kids and, kind of safeguarding them from some stuff that you don't want them to see or for them to be asked questions about at school. Like, I totally understand that component of it, even as I want the real story. I want the most amount of information possible. And I think a lot of times these things tend to get away from that. Like Man in the Arena with Tom Brady.
Right.
Come on.
Or
I don't need a 9-part Patriots doc. Oh my God. It was a Nike Gatorade Michael Jordan ad. Like, and I was grateful for it when it happened because it happened during the pandemic.
Baby.
There was no sports, buddy. I was doing prime time with no sports. That was before I had the radio show. So thank God that we didn't go through that, because you, me, and Lucas with too much time on our hands would probably get fired.
Who is the least valuable player?
Yeah, right.
Right.
For sure. So the Michael Jordan documentary saved us from the doldrums of no sports, no live sports during COVID, unless you were betting on Korean ping pong or
no, Korean baseball.
Korean baseball was
Korean
a thing.
Baseball was killing it. The NC Dinos,
buddy,
man.
I had people in my life betting on marble races. All right, this is how badly the degenerates needed that itch scratched.
I'm hiding my face in shame.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, teams with unsettled situations at quarterback after the draft. Is it really? I think they're both in the same division. You tell me if I'm wrong. Is it really just Cleveland and Pittsburgh?
Yes. I would agree with that currently. Because the Raiders didn't add anyone. The Seahawks added Milroe, but Milroe isn't really going to push Darnold. Like, any of the teams that added an older veteran are not in positions to start a rookie. So I would agree with you. Yes, Steelers and Cleveland have unfinished business.
Is there still a world in which Shedeur Sanders can end up being the starting quarterback of the Browns, even though they took him in the 5th round and added him to a room that has 4 other quarterbacks in it if you count Deshaun Watson?
To start a game, I could see that.
You don't think he ends up being the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns this year?
To be the starter, no. I think there's too many barriers of entry. Like, if we're looking at it broadly, Deshaun Watson's hurt. He's not going to play. Joe Flacco would probably start unless Kenny Pickett is otherworldly in preseason.
I just don't think they signed Flacco to start.
You don't think so?
I mean, I don't have any inside information with the Browns organization, obviously. But, like, that's not a contract that I look at and be like, all right, they brought, like, that. If I was Flacco and they told me, yeah, we're bringing you in here to start, Joe, then I would have asked for more money. I think it's a very backup-y contract that Flacco signed.
So Joe Flacco did an interview after signing with Cleveland that he waited for an opportunity similar to Cleveland's, where he would have an opportunity to start. He had an opportunity to sign with other teams in a backup role, but chose Cleveland because of the opportunity to start. So I agree with you in part of it that it is not a starter's contract, but I think he will compete, and I think he is the most capable quarterback on their roster right now. Should he be starting? Probably not. But I think he beats out Kenny Pickett, unless Kenny Pickett just become 1 year under Jalen Hurts and he's all of a sudden a super competent quarterback. I don't think a rookie is unseating either Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. So it would be tough for me. There would have to be circumstances out of their control, such as injury or suspensions or what have you, that would cause Shedeur or even Dylan Gabriel to start a game.
No. I still can't believe Dylan Gabriel was even a drafted player, much less a 3rd-round pick. There are some things about the draft that very much confuse me, and I'm not going to have a Mel Kiper-like meltdown or whatever and say...
Oh, I'd love that, though, if you did.
Just start screaming, teams don't know what the hell they're doing drafting quarterbacks, but we do. We know everything. We're right. They're wrong.
Jimmy Clausen. Will Levis.
I mean, you really don't have to go much further down the list than those two.
It's just tough. It's just tough. Anytime that you point at somebody and they're like, they don't know what they're doing, I know what I'm doing. In my opinion, you just look dumb. You just look dumb in any of those circumstances.
As Slay would say, hit dog holler.
Yeah. There you go.
And as Caucasian a voice as I can say that.
Slay had a great night last night.
Yeah, you went to Kendrick in Atlanta, yeah?
God, dude, that's killer, man. I saw Kendrick once in Raleigh, and it was exceptional. Right?
Is he going to be on 3HL today? I would take the day off if I went to a Kendrick Lamar concert in Atlanta.
I'm not sure. You'll have to tune in 3HL and find out.
All right, very good. Speaking of 3HL, they're on location today. It's a good day to listen to 3HL. It's always a good day to listen to 3HL, but today in particular, because they got the Big Orange Caravan in town, and 3HL is going to be broadcasting live from Geodis Park for the Big Orange Caravan this Wednesday, today, from 3 to 6. Tune in to hear exclusive interviews from Tennessee Athletics, such as head coach Josh Heupel, Rick Barnes, Kim Caldwell, Athletic Director Danny White is going to be on the show, and, of course, the new voice of the Vols. You know him, you love him. Even if he's going to be with you on Saturdays instead of Sundays, Mike Keith is going to be a part of the Big Orange Caravan as well. For more information, visit 1045thezone.com/events today. Do I have things to give away?
Yes, you do. If you missed out on those Metallica tickets yesterday is your opportunity to get in line to the show that everyone can't wait to be over with. Metallica tickets, if you could tell us the dumbest thing in sports.
615-737-1045. Just like Robert said, give us the dumbest thing in sports this week, and we'll send you to Metallica next.
Hey, guys, it's Lucas telling you that you got to put this on your calendar. Coming up on May 17th, grab your friends for the 4th annual Beer Fest at Game Terminal. It's called Beer Fest, but it's more than just beer. We're talking about alcohol tastings at an unforgettable in-person beer festival at Game Terminal's 8,000-square-foot back patio. Over 35 tastings of beer, cider, and alcohol across a growing list of over 20 vendors. Music will be provided by a DJ. There will be games, fun, and excitement. Beer tastings, gift bag, and swag is all included with your ticket purchase. And by the way, it's for a great cause. Proceeds going to the Nashville Humane Society. If you don't know yet about Game Terminal, it's Nashville's largest arcade with over 250 games spanning 40 years. From pinball to Pac-Man, everything in between. It's got everything you've ever wanted to play. Dig up some of that childhood nostalgia from some of those games you used to play as a kid. Put your skills to the test on a rare game, and the best part, they all work. $40 on sale at 1045 The Zone. Go to the events page. It's $50 if you walk up and get it at the door. It gets you access to the entire space inside and out, unlimited samplings of the beer, cider, and alcohol, and just a great day of fun. Be sure to be there, and I will see you at Game Terminal's 4th annual Beer Fest on Saturday, May 17th, 2 to 6 p.m.
What the hell's going on? 11 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The Titans' luck didn't stop after they made the number one overall pick because they get to stay at the top of the waiver order through the first 3 weeks of the season, claiming outside linebacker Titus Leo and defensive back Mark Perry while waiving offensive lineman Isaiah Prince and Arlington Hambright. But if you want a broad breakdown of the entire Titans 2025 NFL draft class, then you need to be at the install with Greg Cosell as they talk about the pros and cons of every single Titans pick live with Titans head coach Brian Callahan this Friday, May 2nd at the Analog Room at the Hutton Hotel. Tickets available at 104.5 The Zone. You got to be there. We get some information on the fifth-year options, which the deadline to activate those is May 1st. Tomorrow, Kansas City Chiefs are exercising fifth-year options for both cornerback Trent McDuffie and defensive lineman George Karlaftis. The Jaguars announced they would not be exercising linebacker Devin Lloyd's fifth-year option, and the Atlanta Falcons picking up Drake London's fifth-year option. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Most certainly is for the opportunity to win 2 tickets to Metallica. 615-737-1045. You call in. You tell us what the dumbest thing in sports this week is. We also have Sounds tickets to give away later. Not for this, but later.
That is correct. It is Winning Wednesday. It's your opportunity to win Sounds tickets all day with every Zone show. All you got to do is listen for your cue to call to win those Sounds tickets. I got to get out to a game, man. I have been missing the Sounds. I need some summer and baseball in my life.
If you hadn't been so mean to me this week, I would say we could go to a Sounds game while your significant other's out of town.
Just, again, the consequences of my actions biting me in the ass.
Mm-hmm. 615-737-1045. What's the dumbest thing in sports this week? Do you know who Samson Nakua is?
Is that the more famous Samson Nakua's brother?
Yes, it is Puka Nakua's brother.
God, how mad would you be if you got named Samson and your brother has a cool name like Puka?
I don't think I'd want to be called Puka.
What? Puka is an awesome name.
I don't think the Puka Rising does not necessarily hit the same way.
God, that sounds like a great little pet name. My little Puka Rising. Ooh, that sounds like something that happens to kids in math class. Come to the front of the board.
Think about it.
Puka Rising.
I don't own a taser. I will buy a taser, and I will tase you.
My little Puka. That's a threat, Buck. We've talked about this. We've been in meetings with HR.
These HR people, I've been threatening people on air for the better part of going on 4 years now on the air, and HR is yet to get after me. So until I get an email from HR, I'm going to threaten to tase people.
Well, if you get fired, you can't get fired because I'm not hosting
because I'm your guys' meal ticket. What do you mean? The two of you try to run me out of town all the time. Of course I can't get fired. Because we have built an economy, unfortunately for the two of you, around me.
I have no problem being the bird that bites the scabs off the rhino's ass. That don't bother me.
That's disgusting.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah,
you are the anemone. I am the clownfish.
You're a leech, is what you are.
Well, see, that's a one-way relationship.
No, the leech is currently sitting on a beach in Puerto Rico right now.
That's a parasite.
Yeah, whatever you are, vermin, both of you. Either way, the dumbest thing in sports this week is not Samson Nakua, but it is the fan who was slapped by Samson Nakua. Okay. So, Samson Nakua plays in the UFL for the Michigan Panthers. If you're paying attention to spring football, it is currently going on. Samson Nakua is being harassed by a fan in the stands. He then walks up to the sideline, reaches up at the fan, and smacks the fan in the face. Now, you would say that this is a terrible offense. You can't do this to your paying customers. This, that, and the other. Some pearl clutcher Thomas Welch, I saw, tweeted, the UFL can't let this go unpunished. Bush League move towards the best fans of the league, and the only reason it's still alive, the Michigan Panthers. Okay. If you harass the professional rage monsters, and if you say things to them that you are not comfortable backing up when they reach into the stands and smack your ass, then it's probably on you. Paying for a ticket, like there's a difference between heckling and harassing. I got no problem with fans that heckle opposing team, opposing coach, opposing player, whatever. When you cross that line and the people who play for blood and sweat and tears and pride and to take food off another man's table to earn a roster spot, even in the UFL, when you start to chirp at them and they don't like the chirping and they come back at you, yeah, I'm good with it. I wish that I could see more professional athletes respond this way. I understand why that can't happen. I understand why Puka Nacua is probably going to get in trouble for it. In fact, the St. Louis Police Department is currently investigating the matter, which is not ideal for for Samson Nacua, not Puka Nacua. But for Samson, I'm Team Samson. Smack the hell out of a fan if he gets to talking too much. I'm good with that.
What did the 5 fingers say to the face?
Oh.
What? Slap!
I was very,
I listened to it 7 times.
I was so scared. So scared.
Listened to it 7 times.
Okay.
My dumbest thing in sports is, how the hell did y'all let Jameis Winston come to New York and be a better Italian than Tommy DeVito in less than a week? This was a clip. Jameis has taken the internet by storm. I hate how much I love him. But
why? You are him. You are the novelty item that we take to. If they took Jameis to the zoo and did what you did, Jameis would do it better.
Oh, God, he would kill it. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. No one tell them that. No one let Jameis know he could go to a zoo and do an incredible job.
You're not even the best zoo interviewer.
Here was Jameis learning about gabagool.
Gabagool from The Sopranos. Gabagool.
Gabagool.
Yeah.
Gabagool. 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 For Thanksgiving, that's going to be epic. Gabagool.
I hate him so much.
That's not true. Why do you hate him? You are him. You're a less funny him.
He's just so good at it.
Yeah.
He can't. You can't help but be pulled in by his magnet rays. It just bothers me. And also the whole thing about Tommy DeVito was, he's one of us. He's the passing paisan, right? He's getting cut. You're getting sent into the abyss, my dude. Have fun slinging chicken parmesans the rest of your life.
I'm laughing both at you and both at the chat because I just glanced over into the chat to see what some of the commentary was, and says somebody on YouTube says it's assault, and Samson Nacua should be arrested. Soft. Everything on a football field is assault. So that if it happens in a football stadium, it's not assault to me, unless it happens in the stands and it's fan-on-fan crime, and then you can probably accuse somebody of assault. Tyler Dial points out on YouTube, Buck, how dare you do a prank call? Also, Buck, slap that MFer.
He did get fined. They got some money added to it. That was one of my standing points in that argument. Was like, ain't nobody gonna do anything. They ain't gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, his dad got fined $100,000. What do you think's happening to Jack Solbrick?
I remember one time
for a dad getting $100,000 fine. Also, Dad, why are you leaving your iPad just open in the middle of the living room for your pissant little kid to go steal players' numbers off of them so he can prank call them afterwards?
So I did see someone else saying that this would not have happened if Shador had an actual agent, because he represents himself. So apparently he sent that number to everyone, to every 32 team, or all 32 teams. Mm-hmm. And agents would have done that selectively or sent it to general managers and not sent it to decent defensive coordinators. I can't remember who said that yesterday. I need to try to find that audio. But my dumbest thing in sports, Jameis Winston.
Very good. For the opportunity to win some Metallica tickets, 615-737-1045. Give us your dumbest thing in sports this week. Let's start with Kyle in Springfield.
What's going on, boys? I got you a NASCAR one.
Okay.
Elton Sawyer, the senior vice president for NASCAR, is the dumbest thing in sports this week. Everybody's pissed off with the plate racing like Talladega and Daytona because it looks like Briley Parkway following a cop. Every lane's backed up. Nobody can go anywhere. The teams are mad. The owners are mad. Hell, even the manufacturers are mad. This man goes on the podcast yesterday, oh, yeah, it's fine. We ain't going to do nothing to change it. After everybody has moaned and groaned for 3 years.
Thanks for the call, Kyle. So I'm reading about it now. Apparently he went on Sirius XM and he cited, well, you got the excitement out of it that you wanted because you had 67 lead changes throughout the course of the race. You had 23 different drivers among those 67 lead changes. So you're getting the drama. This is the quote. When you're sitting in race control, you can see our fans standing on their feet. We're 4 wide, in some cases 5 wide. Back to single file, and our fans are standing up and cheering. And then you go look at the metrics, and you look at the starts after the race, and you have 67 lead changes among 23 different drivers. When we look at all that, what are we trying to fix? What's not going the way that we would like it? I get it. When we start talking about short track packages, when we have a guy that leads 400-some laps of a 500-something lap race, okay, we're going to do our best to try and work on that and figure out what we can do. But when you have 67 lead changes among 23 drivers, I'm not real sure what we're going to work on there. But as always, we want to get better. We want to have 70 lead changes. Okay, it goes on at some length. Point is, if the track is poor, they need to fix the track. It's just like field conditions. It's like why people complain about the NFL playing in foreign countries and things like that. When you go to Brazil and the field turf is bad and Jordan Love, a starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, has a bum ankle for a couple of weeks because why are you playing football in Brazil other than money? Good submission by Kyle. Let's go to Chris in Spring Hill.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
My dumbest thing in sports this week is Ja Morant. After getting hurt in Game 3, he told reporters that he had the Thunder figured out. Pretty sure they would have won Game 3 if he didn't get hurt, and they only lost Game 4 by 2 points. But anytime an injured player is telling you that if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, you would have won the series, comes off as a pretty bad look. Reminds me of Jimmy Butler last year with the Heat. So, yeah, that's just my dumbest thing this week.
It's a good submission. It sounds a bit tone deaf. And like Jimmy Butler dragged a bunch of Heat teams to the championship. Like, they didn't win. They came up short. And
they won in the COVID bubble, didn't they? Didn't they? No, the Lakers did. The Lakers did. You're right.
Yeah, the Lakers played the Heat, and then LeBron, that's the only LeBron-Lakers title that's out there.
Yeah, this is up there with players after they have a big loss coming out and be like, yeah, I was hurt the whole time. Yeah, I was hurt. That's why we lost. I think LeBron did it once. He's like, yeah, I had a pinky injury. It's like, come on, man. Even if you were, you just got to hold on to that.
How about Doug in Nashville next? Hey, Doug.
Hey, guys.
What you got?
Has to be the kid from Ole Miss posting on TikTok or whatever. I mean, getting that number, knowing that that's going to sell your dad out, posting that video out. I mean, that's got to be the biggest bonehead move that, yeah, it probably sounded like a good idea, but we can't do that. We can't put that video out with our faces and all that. That's just absolutely the worst.
Thanks for the call, Doug. Bert, you made an argument that I don't think is an unfair one about the Jack Selbert and his accessories there and the prank call. Like, prank calls are funny. I didn't think it was funny because I don't think that stupid cruelty is funny. But I think my bigger issue, and I didn't articulate this well, but I had time to think about it after the fact because I was like, all right, am I taking it too seriously? Because I don't think you were bringing up unfair points, even though I disagreed with you. The thing that pissed me off the most about it is that they wanted the clout for being the people that did that.
Right.
And that in and of itself, yeah, plenty of people get prank called, but just the worst kind of human being. And I don't care how young they are, 21-year-old, 20-year-old, 25-year-old, 35-year-old, whatever. If you're that kind of person that is going to do something so stupid and cruel, unoriginal, and then post it for the clout because you know it's going to blow up everywhere, kick rocks.
Yeah, you got to wear masks next time. Come on, guys. Figure it out.
They're going to have stockings over their heads next time. Ski mask all-stars.
Or if they bought those transfigure masks that has someone's face on it, but if you put it on, it kind of looks like it's your face, that would have been great.
All right, so we got Kyle with the NASCAR official downplaying the poor track conditions at Talladega. We got Chris with Ja Morant's tone-deaf comments, and we've got Doug with Jax Ulbrich being a stupid little pissant.
You pick.
It's Jack Selberg. Congratulations to Doug. We hope you enjoy the Metallica concert. Robert will be in touch with you shortly. Coming up next, where do the Titans still need to get better? After the draft, there's still plenty to do in the post-draft free agency. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Download the Hattie B's app. Get a free dessert if you're first time mobile ordering via the Hattie B's app. You can also earn bonus points to get discounts in the Hattie B's app. In fact, Bert and I mobile ordered Hattie B's to the studio today, and I insisted on ordering from my account because I had bonus points to use, and I wanted Bert's bonus points too, so we got 20% off our order, and I'm very happy about it.
Anytime you want to buy me lunch and use my points, you go right ahead.
You don't do that with your friends? You try and buy lunch or dinner and things like that to get the credit card points?
Am I supposed to be doing that?
I mean,
I always let other people buy it. I'm like, hey, no, I'll get it. Okay, hell yeah. Hey, no problem. You got it, man.
Two Americas. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Titans had a draft. Titans drafted well, by all accounts. But it doesn't mean that the work's done and that the roster is finished and that you're immediately competing for the playoffs, which I think most of you know. But I've seen some overwhelming optimism out there on social media, which is fine. You're entitled to react to your team doing things however you want to react to them. But I do think it's worth pointing out that they still have some considerable needs that they weren't totally able to address. Now, surface level, you feel pretty good about the work that they did with the combination of free agency and the draft, where the offensive line was clearly the priority in free agency, where they were trying to build out the best support system for Cam Ward humanly possible to make sure that he's as upright as humanly possible. Even if you have to dip into tackle free agency, which is not really where you want to exist, because what you're getting is probably not worth the price point. But if it just gets to league average, Dan Moore and Kevin Zeitler, then you're feeling pretty good about the circumstance that you have. You don't do a lot with the wide receivers in free agency, though you did add 3 veterans, as we talked about before. And, of course, the biggest acquisitions come through the draft with Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick. And then you go down through the 8 other players where you're talking about 4 different skill position players, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back. You add 2 defenders on day 2, and then you also add the corner. I'm blanking on the corner's name off the top of my head. Is it Marcus Harris? Yes, Marcus Harris, who they drafted in the 6th round before taking their final pick. So of all the different places that they've added, and it, also important to note that Lorenzo Carter, veteran depth pass rush guy across his career with the Giants and the Falcons, he comes in here. Draymond Jones. A lot of people called it a prove-it deal. 1 year, $10 million. That's not a prove-it deal to me. $10 million is real money. Like, that's a known commodity of a player who's trying to cash in a much bigger way. But that doesn't mean it's a prove-it deal. It just means you basically got him on a rental.
Maybe to prove that you deserve long-term secure money. Maybe not a prove it as in you can play, but a prove it as in we will pay you over 3 years and you will get a certain amount of guaranteed money. Maybe that way it's a prove it deal.
So all the different things that you think about with the Titans roster and all the different things that they have yet to add or still need to add, what's the first thing that comes to mind? 615-737-1045 is how you chime in if you would like to. I almost said chub in because somebody asked me about Nick Chubb, which the phrasing on that would have been problematic, I think, but probably not the most problematic.
I do enough chubbing back here for the both of us.
Always there for me.
Yep.
I am curious to know what you think the biggest remaining need for the Titans on the board is right now, because you still have options in the post-draft free agency. Now, they may not be the best options in the world. You can also chime in on the F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. D. Good says of the Draymond Jones contract, the 1 year, $10 million, he says that's a Vic Beasley type of deal, Buck. Titans need another pass rusher. Yes, I would agree. Vic Beasley was different, though. You weren't here for the Vic Beasley saga.
I was not.
That was the COVID year. So not only did you have Isaiah Wilson drunk driving all over Nashville, but you had Jadeveon Clowney, Titans legend, coming in here, playing 8 games and then not wanting to practice and not wanting to participate and kind of being a bit of a malcontent. And that not working out, costing you a lot more money. You had Vic Beasley come in here for a little less than Draymond Jones got on a 1 year deal. The Falcons, I've never seen a team put out a statement about them not retaining a player. Like, just so you guys know, we don't want this dude here anymore. And here's why. I mean, they didn't go so far as to say here's why, but basically they put out a statement on the team website saying, yeah, we're not going to pursue Vic Beasley in free agency. We're good here. Vic Beasley then shows up. It's like 10 days late. And at a time where the CBA had just been recently changed to where it used to be if you had a reasonable excuse, the team could give you back some of the fine money that you ended up accruing. This was guaranteed fine money that Vic Beasley was racking up and just kept missing days. We're asking John Robinson about it on Zoom because it's COVID. We're asking Mike Vrabel about it on Zoom because it's COVID. And Vic Beasley just, I mean, they lit $25 million on fire that season between Vic Beasley, Jadeveon Clowney, and that's not even to mention what happened to that draft class. What a mess. The situation for the Titans, to me, screams pass rush help. Because I just don't know that, I mean, you could still continue to churn your depth at the wide receiver or in the wide receiver room. And that's something that you're going to hear from Mike Borgonzi on here in just a second about Lockett and the rest of the wide receivers that they've added. We'll play that for you momentarily. But to me, it screams pass rush. Screams front seven. Draymond Jones and Arden Key are penciled in as your starters. I would like another starting option besides Arden Key. I would like Arden Key to finally be relegated to the role that he is best equipped to play, which is that of a situational pass rusher, that of a third down player, not somebody who you're going to leave in there for all three downs, not somebody you're going to ask to set the edge, somebody who's going to be in there for NASCAR packages, who's going to be effective on stunts and twists and games and things like that, and be your relief for Draymond Jones and edge starter X.
Which would probably be Lorenzo Carter right now. Like, and so that brings me to my, not to derail us here, but I did want to ask you, would you be okay with them adding strictly a pass rush specialist, or do they need to add another well-rounded outside linebacker who can play run down, set the edge, those sort of things?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I want here in just a second, but first I'm going to tell you what you need, and what you need is your tickets for the Install Live. Because Eric Taylor on YouTube just pointed out that he has just secured his tickets. We are running out of tickets as the minutes pass. So if you want to be in the house for the live taping of the Install with Greg Cosell, hosted by me with our very special guest, Titans head coach Brian Callahan, this Friday, 2 days from now, in the Analog Room at the Hutton Hotel, you can be there live as Cosell and Callahan break down the free agents, the draft class. Perhaps there will even be an addition before we do the live show on Friday. That's always a possibility, which is always a fun part of preparing for the show. We're going to take your questions from the audience. By the way, we are going to prioritize people who donate to Home Street Home as a means of taking your questions. So let me make sure that I say this. Just because you donate does not guarantee that we will take your questions, because we only have so much time. But if you want to prioritize your question being asked, the best way to do that is to donate to Home Street Home, an incredible organization that helps rehabilitate the unhoused community here in Middle Tennessee. Stephen Young, awesome person, awesome staff, awesome family, incredible work, important work that they're doing. So we're going to try and support them as best we can by incentivizing you guys, if you want to ask questions of Cosell or the head coach, to donate to Home Street Home. Make sure you send me your receipt via Twitter or Instagram. You can DM those to me, and we will make sure that you are prioritized in terms of the question asking line, because there was a line last year. Bert got to the front of the line. He put a mustache on. He hit a chef's hat under Ran Carthon's seat. We're not looking forward to that. Hopefully we can avoid that, because that probably didn't help him keep his job. So I don't know what you're conspiring to do to Brian Callahan in this situation, but I'm certain that you better be on your P's and Q's, and you better bring a better mustache this year.
I will not be wearing a mustache, but I am interested into what you think the Titans need to add here.
Zadarius Smith or nothing. Like, I know there's other edge guys out there, but that is a bona fide starter with you having sufficient cap space to add said bona fide starter. Doesn't have to be a long-term deal. He's not, again, at the height of his powers. I remember John Robinson was still the GM the last time I was advocating for the Titans to sign Zadarius Smith in free agency. He went to the Packers, I think, after Baltimore, right?
That is He signed with the Packers, yes.
Because they signed Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith, I think, both that year.
Yes, in the same offseason. And the Packers never spend that much money in free agency. Then got traded to the Browns, and got released, went back to the Browns, and got traded to the Lions last season.
And while he wasn't Aiden Hutchinson, who he was brought in to help replace or just try and stave off some of the pass rush drop-off that Aiden Hutchinson left in his wake because of the injury, Zadarius Smith is a quality starter. The Titans need a starting caliber player, and he is the only starting caliber player that I can see out there on the market. I would like Arden Key relegated to a better role for him. I would like to not see Lorenzo Carter as much as possible, respectfully. I would like to see Jalen Harrell. I don't know, man. He didn't contribute anything, but I don't know what my bar for a 7th round pick is. So I don't know if that's just, you're trying to improve, again, the bottom of your roster. You're trying to raise the floor of your roster. Jalen Harrell was not a meaningful contributor last year. And then Draymond Jones, who I expect to be a starter. And then you have the defensive line depth that you have with Jeff, with Sebastian Joseph Day, with Tavondre Sweat, with, what's that little fire hydrant dude from Texas that they brought back? Keandre Coburn. So you've got some pieces and parts there, but you need more juice up front. Zadarius Smith, while he might not have the most juice he's ever had in his career, still has more juice than anybody else you got on your roster right now.
Could I broach another potential option? And I am willing to cede that he may not be the best fit for what the team needs, but I would like to bring Von Miller up in discussion. We brought up earlier in the show how they have enough money to spend. Von Miller, at this point in his career, I imagine, is looking for a check. He's looking to continue making money. He loves the country music culture. He loves the fashion culture. I think he would blend in really well with Nashville. You would have essentially a coach in that room. Now,
How old is Von Miller?
I think he's 36, and that's the downside of it.
Do you know Steph Curry's 37? Somebody pointed that out to me today. Well, I just love watching Steph Curry play. They're getting ready to have another playoff game tonight for Golden State, and I couldn't believe that Steph Curry. I mean, I guess I could because he's been around for 100 years, but he moves way too well to be 37 years old. Different sport.
Go look up pictures of him when he got drafted to now. It's kind of crazy. But adding him would give you a coach in that room, someone who's had a lot of success elsewhere. And the downside to this, he has not started a game in the last 2 seasons. Played in 25 games with no starts, but has added 6 sacks in the previous season after having a tough season 2 years ago. So he would not feel your need of an edge guy who could go out there and play rundowns, but he could mix it up with pass rush, 3rd and long. You throw Von Miller out there. I would have to look at the snaps he played on defense for them. But so last year he played 33% of Buffalo's defensive snaps. I don't know how much Von Miller would cost. I believe he had a $20 million price tag last year. But that would be someone I would get excited about if the Titans added him. He's not the Von Miller of old, but you would still have an elder statesman in that room who could help with a little pass rush.
Duck Falling is asking if there was a legal situation with Von Miller here recently. If there is, I'm not aware of one, but I will effort that to make sure that we are talking about it if it needs to be discussed, because that would obviously, depending on the allegation, depending on the seriousness.
Okay, so as far as I can see, in 2013, he was accused of assaulting his pregnant girlfriend, and the suspension took effect in the 2024 season.
Okay.
So that was something that happened last season. I don't know if there was a rechurning of this.
Not to downplay the significance of the 2013 situation, but I didn't know if there was a more recent situation that was being referenced.
I don't believe so.
Okay, very good. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll go back to the phones. How about Brian in Nashville?
Hey, guys. I love the takes on the needs for Titans. I think edge rusher is definitely a big need. Other need, I think, something that I just don't feel like we've got any game changers in would be like defensive back area. But I'd love y'all's opinion on that. But yeah, I love where the Titans' heads are at as far as the front office and where they went with the draft picks, because big believer in, the game's won in the trenches. So I feel like we bolstered up the offensive line. We need to do the same on the defensive line. But I'm curious what you guys think about the defensive backfield.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Brian. So, superstar or star players, that's supposed to be L'Jarius Sneed. And he was a star player, but he was a star player for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's yet to even be a good player for the Titans. His on-field performance while he was available was, I don't know, it left a lot to be desired. Now, I think Amani Hooker is, I don't know if people would call him a star, but I do think Amani Hooker's the most underrated player on the team perpetually, year in and year out, if you're not talking Morgan Cox or Nick Folk or something like that. If you get a better situation up front, you're going to make life a lot easier on your pass rush, because your pass rush is just having to linger in coverage too long. Now, I'm cautiously optimistic about Jarvis Brownlee. Ideally, I would have liked for them to have found Jarvis Brownlee, basically found L'Jarius Sneed organically as opposed to trading for him and paying him $17.6 million a year, because that's what Jarvis Brownlee at least looks like he could be. They're physically similar. Their style is similar. Whether or not Brownlee lives up to what Sneed was at his best when he was a two-time Super Bowl champion for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's locking down receivers, and he's traveling with their best receivers. I know for a fact, and I'd be interested to talk to Brian Callahan about this on Friday at the live show, when they were pursuing him, that was one of Brian Callahan's guys, L'Jarius Sneed, because Callahan believes Sneed to not just be a good corner, but to be arguably the best corner in football at the time. They're still touting that. I look forward to seeing it at whatever point that it emerges for a variety of different reasons. The Sneed tenure here in Tennessee has left a ton to be desired. The legal situation or the allegations made against L'Jarius Sneed and his assistant and also his mother in a lawsuit that's ongoing, there's been no resolution on that. To my knowledge, we'll keep you updated with the latest. I'm sure that Sneed, if he should be made available to the media in the next couple of weeks, because we'll have voluntary workouts. We do have the practice schedule for the Titans for the next couple of months, as a matter of fact, which is exciting because we actually have football to talk about and football practice to talk about before we get to preseason games and on to the regular season. But superstar quality in your secondary, Amani Hooker's the only thing I can count on right now. I'd like for Sneed to, just be worth what they're paying him at some point. Coming up next, gimmick or project quarterback? How does the NFL view Jalen Milroe? It's somebody we talked a lot about in the lead-up. It's a good conversation to have about developmental quarterbacks, given that the Titans just drafted one, number one overall. We'll talk about it coming up next. We've got a huge announcement from Two Rivers Ford. They are now offering employee price. You pay what they pay on almost every new Ford on the lot. And at Two Rivers Ford, what you see is always what you get. They don't do things like add expensive accessories or tack on service packages to increase the price of the vehicles. Two Rivers Ford is upfront and honest every single time. And now they are offering you employee pricing. There's no better time to buy American, and there's no better dealership than Two Rivers Ford, locally owned and operated for over 40 years, home of the non-commissioned sales team, and now home of employee pricing for everyone. From America, for America, Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. So, any player drafted into the NFL is far from a finished product, whether they be number one overall or Mr. Irrelevant. They've got a learning curve. How steep or how shallow that learning curve is, that depends on the player, that depends on the skill, the traits, and all manner of different things. The landing spot, certainly geography, is arguably the most important part of the NFL draft because good players get drafted to bad teams all the time where those bad organizations ruin those good players, and the Titans have experienced that in their history, as have basically every NFL franchise at some point in their life cycle. When it comes to quarterbacks, though, it's an even smaller hit rate for these guys. And we know that a quarterback drafted in the first round isn't necessarily a hit of a first-round pick if they simply win a playoff game. But we know that the percentage of quarterbacks drafted in the first round. So how many first-round quarterbacks? It's just Cam. No, Cam and Dart. So 138 quarterbacks, including Cam Ward and Jackson Dart, have been drafted into the NFL in the first round. 45% of the 136 quarterbacks drafted prior to this year had even won a playoff game. And again, that doesn't make them a success as a first-round pick. It just means that that's how hard it is to get quality play out of quarterbacks drafted anywhere, much less the most important round or the most valuable round, one would imagine. Jalen Milroe was not a first-round draft pick. He was the 92nd pick overall on Friday night by the Seattle Seahawks, who just paid Sam Darnold on a 3-year deal to come in there and replace Geno Smith, and they're changing around a bunch of things, including the offense and the offensive coordinator as a result. How much better the Seahawks are going to be curious. Jalen Milroe's landing spot there is fascinating to me. Jalen Milroe, is he the traitsiest quarterback in this year's draft class? Traitsiest meaning like Will Levis has traits, right? Will Levis has arm strength. Levis has prototypical size. Will Levis does have toughness, even if, the decision-making on the front end of that toughness doesn't matter much. But there are traits associated with Will Levis, which is why he ended up being a high second-round pick and could have been a first.
Jalen Milroe, to me, is kind of like if you're going squirrel hunting with a gun, but you ain't got a rifle, or you ain't got a scope. You know what I mean? Like, you trying to look up in a tree, to look up in a nest. Oh, where's that squirrel at? Hopefully he pops his head up. But you ain't got no scope, so you use an iron sight, so your accuracy's off. He's got all the stuff to put the ball there. He just can't put it where you need to put it. He ain't got no scope on him.
But he's got arm strength. He's got, God knows, the speed. He's got the second reaction running, which is not just straight line speed, right? It's how he identifies the lanes that are going to be able to open up. He's got the patience to make those second reaction runs work really well. Certainly he's the most athletic quarterback in this year's draft class. How much of the accuracy component is a trait that you can develop? Because while Josh Allen exists, so does Anthony Richardson. And those may be extremes on one end or the other. Anthony Richardson, ironically enough, a higher draft pick than Josh Allen was in his draft. Milroe, understandably, a lot more work to do, even though he was a more accurate college passer than, or at least by completion percentage. You can argue how much completion percentage is a stat that has to be, any level of importance assigned to it other than, Shedeur Sanders has a high completion percentage because he's throwing a lot of passes behind the line of scrimmage. He's throwing a lot of screens. He's throwing a lot of high percentage success rate type of throws. And where Milroe's accuracy took its biggest hit this year was on the deep ball, because he can throw a pretty deep ball, but he just wasn't hitting as many of those deep plays as he did the year prior. What I'm looking at from him is going to be a really fascinating case study in just how much we're able to identify traits in a quarterback and then build upon the foundation of what that quarterback brings to the table. I heard an interesting comment the other day from, I'm pretty sure it was Dan Lebitard. I was listening to the podcast. And Lebitard said something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing here, but we as a society are better able to identify talent in racehorses than we are in NFL quarterbacks. And something that somebody else on the podcast brought up was, well, racehorses can't interview to the point where they may fool you into thinking that their confidence or their arrogance or their swagger or their demeanor, whatever, can meaningfully impact the player that they are. The horse just races.
And they can take steroids.
Well, they're not supposed to.
Oh, can you not do that?
Ideally not.
Okay.
My, this is a findable offense. My cousin has a horse in the Derby this weekend. That's about as 1% as 1% can get. Yeah.
I do think in Milroe's case, he landed in a good spot, and not because of Mike McDonald's experience with Lamar Jackson, but because of who their new offensive coordinator is in Clint Kubiak. So his dad, he's running essentially the same system his dad was running it in Gary Kubiak, the strong running game where you have the zone blocking, a lot of play actions, a lot of stretches. So, like, he's going to have a good run game. He's going to have the play action to lean on, and I don't think he will have to hit a ton of deep shots early in his career. So if he can embed himself in the offense and just kind of maybe he gets a package here or there in the red zone and calmly bides his time until Sam Darnold is out of Seattle, I think he could be in a good position 2 years from now to start.
How much they're going to try and implement him in year one is going to be curious too. The Titans tried this with Malik Willis and Ryan Tannehill, and it didn't go well. And maybe that's Todd Downing's fault for the kind of packages that they were inserting Malik Willis in. But there's got to be a world in which Jalen Milroe gets some on-field playing time this year. He's such a different kind of player than Sam Darnold is. So how they go about the development of this player, I love that he's in a spot where he doesn't have to play right away. Sam Darnold is at least their answer at quarterback for 2 years, based on how the money's structured. And for Cam Ward, quite the opposite. While nobody has said anything about naming a starter right away, we are operating under the assumption that the Titans did not take Cam Ward #1 overall to sit him behind Will Levis, Brandon Allen, Tim Boyle. I'm assuming that this quarterback is going to play in week 1, provided that he's, the training camp, he isn't a hot mess or something like that you can't anticipate. But I don't like the gimmick stuff around Jalen Milroe because I don't think he's a gimmicky player. I just think he's got a different set of tools that you have to develop, and that's incumbent upon the coaching staff, which is also something that needs to be brought up here. Like, and I said this before they drafted Cam Ward, Robert, I don't know if this is something that you would agree with or disagree with, but to me, a commitment to Cam Ward is also a commitment to Brian Callahan, or at least it needs to be. This is something that we can talk about later in the week, because Chad Brinker was specifically asked about how much has Amy Adams Strunk bought in on the plan, bought in on the patience over panic, bought in on, hey, we got a slow burn here. We're going to have to take a little while to get this thing up and running the way that we need to get it up and running. Because that all sounds well and good, and it can all make sense on paper, and then the owner come in and upend things because she's not happy with the record at the end of the year.
I don't disagree with you that it should be a pairing with the two, but I would say I would come up with that decision probably about week 8 for me. If I can see it trending in a place where it's like, okay, we're losing games, but we look competent. We're in games. We're not just getting our ass busted like we did against the Lions every week. If it looks good through the first half of the season, then I would probably have a commitment to Brian Callahan as the coach. If the preparation, the stuff on the field, the practice, all of that looks good, then I would probably stick with him.
I almost think it's a 2-year commitment for Brian Callahan with Cam Ward, if this thing is to be done correctly, provided that, again, the bottom doesn't fall out and it's not, a 2-win team again heading into November or something disgusting.
Sure, but I mean, I would argue that if this first year goes well, then you should get the rookie contract commitment. As long as Cam is on this rookie contract and it's working out and the team is getting better, I think they should have a commitment to Brian Callahan.
Did the Titans do enough at wide receiver for a room that desperately needed some additions? We're going to talk about that coming up next. You're going to hear from Mike Borgonzi. We're also going to talk about a fascinating piece that Albert Breer wrote on the Titans' process with Cam Ward and some of the interactions between Cam Ward and specifically Brian Callahan that I think Titans fans are going to enjoy. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. The Titans' luck didn't stop after they made the number 1 overall pick because they get to stay atop the waiver order, and that is true until about through week 3 of the NFL season. The Titans claimed outside linebacker Titus Leo and defensive back Mark Perry while waiving offensive lineman Isaiah Prince and Arlington Hambright. If you need a broad breakdown of the entire Titans 2025 NFL draft class, then you need to be at the install with Greg Cosell as he talks about the pros and cons of every single player drafted by the Titans with Titans head coach Brian Callahan live this Friday, May 2nd at the Analog Room at the Hutton Hotel. Tickets available at 1045thezone.com, but you need to go now because they are going pretty quick. Kind of like fifth-year options in the NFL. The deadline to announce those is tomorrow. The Kansas City Chiefs announced this morning that they are activating the fifth-year options for both Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis. The Ravens just moments ago noting that they would pick up Kyle Hamilton's fifth-year option and decline center Tyler Linderbaum's. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour. Moving fast on a Wednesday. Happy to have you, Bert and me. Until 1 o'clock, 615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in. The question to you, did the Titans do enough at wide receiver? This was one of the biggest issues that they've had perpetually. We had an interesting conversation going on in our A to Z Sports group text yesterday, one of many A to Z Sports group texts that are proliferating my phone right now, but it was something posed by Jake Evans, who is one of the social media people or social media managers.
Does a great job.
At A to Z, kiss ass. I was laughing out loud at the question that he posed yesterday at 7 p.m. Question for the chat that I can't figure out. Who was the last wide receiver that the Titans drafted, keyword, drafted, that signed a second contract with the Titans? We were having difficulty determining this question. A.J. Brown did not get a second contract from the Titans. You might go all the way back to Derek Mason, but Derek Mason was drafted by the Houston Oilers. So that's been quite some time ago, respectfully to D-Mace. Kendall Wright, first-round pick, no contract, obviously. Drew Bennett was a UDFA, so he doesn't count for the purposes of this conversation, nor would somebody like Nick Westbrook-Akina. Treylon Burks is not going to get a second contract here. And Easton Freeze in our group text said it's Mark Mariani, but not after his rookie deal. Mark signed a one-year, $610,000 contract with the Titans in 2014 after he concluded playing with the, This is, all right, I've got it backwards. Mark did sign a second contract with the Titans before going to Chicago, but was waived in 2014, where the Bears then picked him up for 2 years, $1.23 million. So, 7th-round draft pick in 2010, got a 4-year contract. Man, 4 years, $1.99 million. Can you imagine a wide receiver going for that these days? Not the pocket watch for Mark, but. So he did sign a second contract, signed a third contract, but then was waived before he got to play a game on that third contract where the Bears picked him up in 2014, and he ended up spending about 3 years in Chicago, if memory serves.
Another crazy fact like that I heard yesterday, that Charles Cross is the first fifth-round option exercised by the Seattle Seahawks for a player they have drafted since it was instituted in 2011. Now, they did use the fifth-year option for Noah Fant in the Russell Wilson trade, who they acquired from Denver, but he was not drafted by the team. So since 2011, they have only used the fifth-year option once.
That's
crazy.
insane. So the question becomes, all right, did the Titans do enough at wide receiver? And that's something that we're going to dive into because that's a position, I don't know, left tackle has the recency bias, but wide receiver in the Tennessee Titans organization has been a suffering. Certainly my entire career here. And I know a lot of you guys would have dealt with longer droughts because at least I had a period of time where A.J. Brown was on the team to cover between Derek Mason and A.J. Brown and everybody else that came in between there. Tough sledding. Somebody on YouTube says, what happens? That's what happens when you have, oh, this is very harsh. That's what happens when you have trash running your team. Hopefully this new front office is different than anything we have seen. It's tough for me to call John Robinson or for me to not push back on that because John drafted AJ. AJ is the most talented wide receiver to be drafted by the Titans organization, Titans era organization, certainly. And Corey Davis didn't pan out as a first-round pick, as the 5th overall pick. But he wasn't a bad player. His struggles were not nearly as great as the things that have happened since Corey Davis was drafted here, even if he didn't work out the way that he wanted to or the way that you wanted him to. The Taywan Taylors of the world, Tajay Sharp had a solid period of time here before he went on to the Atlanta Falcons. So it's not like there's a ton of examples, certainly in the last couple of years, that you can pull from. Rand Carthon's biggest moves at wide receiver were in free agency with DeAndre Hopkins in the first year and Calvin Ridley in the second year. The 2 draft picks that he spent on wide receivers were a 7th rounder on Colton Dowell in 2023 and a 6th round pick on Jaquan Jackson in 2024. Neither of those 2 have contributed much at all other than, well, Colton Dowell had a couple of nice plays on special teams before he popped his ACL, and he still has not been able to work his way back from that. Fair to expect that he would be available for training camp at this point in time, but did not play at all last season. And so while you may still and probably still hold it against John Robinson that he traded A.J. Brown away, he did also draft A.J. Brown. So I can't totally kill John for that one, even though there's plenty of things that you can be critical of with him. So we're going to dive into the wide receiver conversation here in just a little bit. But first, we'll take your phone calls. 615-737-1045 is how you do it. Actually, before we go to the phones, I'm going to remind you that our show is going to be at Parman Tractor and Equipment on Thursday. That's Thursday. This is incorrect. It says this Thursday, and I told them that I'm not going this Thursday. So it's next week that we are going to be at Parman Tractor and Equipment. Next Wednesday, Parman Tractor and Equipment, your authorized Takeuchi excavator and track loader dealer. For more info, visit 1045thezone.com/events. So not this week, but next week we will be out at Parman Tractor and Equipment. If you just so happen to be in the area, want to stop by, say hi, do a little shopping while you're there. Now to the phones. Will in Nashville is next.
Buck, how you doing, man?
Good.
Good. So roll with me here. Coach has played or coached Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow, correct?
Callahan, yes. Those are 2 of the quarterbacks on his resume.
So Matthew Stafford has made guys like Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp better.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase, with whom he played with at LSU.
Yep.
So I think that with Cam Ward, obviously Xavier Restrepo is somebody that he knows well. But I think in terms of wide receivers, it's not about getting the best or the big names. It's about getting somebody with whom Callahan can coach the quarterback to make the receiver better, right?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you want both sides to elevate one another, right? It's not just the quarterback doing all the heavy lifting or the wide receiver making the quarterback look smart. Because this came up. I appreciate the call, Will. So, Robert, were you a draft junkie when Manziel was coming out?
That was one of my first years.
Okay. Was Johnny Manziel a good college football quarterback, or did Mike Evans make him look a lot smarter at Texas A&M?
I think he was a good college quarterback, but Mike Evans did make him look a lot smarter. He did a lot of things that he wouldn't be able to do in the NFL.
I think you're right that both things can be true there because Johnny Manziel was one of the most electric college football quarterbacks that we've seen, but a lot of it was out of structure. A lot of it was of, his own playmaking ability. And also Mike Evans is what? Mike Evans is 6'4", 6'5", with the wingspan of a 2-car garage. So if you just throw it up down there while you're rolling around and trying to evade Alabama defenders, bleep it, Mike's going to be down there somewhere. Both things can be true. Johnny Manziel gets a lot more credit for their time at Texas A&M than Mike Evans does because he's the quarterback, because he's Money Manziel, because of all the things around Manziel at the time. But I think Mike Evans deserves a great deal more credit than he got for Johnny Manziel's success and probably helping Johnny Manziel be a first-round draft pick at the time, whether or not the Browns should have made a decision like that. For Cam Ward, yes, you want to have that continuity. You want to, again, it's just about how do you shorten the learning curve on him? How do you make the process? Because it's hard as hell for any rookie coming in, regardless of position, regardless of what round. You got all different things going on. You got to move. You got to get to your new facility. You got to learn your new teammates. You got to learn your coaches. You got to learn the system. You got to deal with all the different kind of politics in the NFL that you don't have to deal with at the college football level, or at least as a college football player. And Cam Ward is uniquely equipped to handle that. I think the transfer stuff does help players be more ready to handle stuff like that. But anything that you can do to make Cam Ward's life easier, you have to do it. Xavier Restrepo is somebody who he's going to immediately come into camp with, or come into rookie stuff with a comfort level. I imagine that we would see a great deal of Cam Ward throwing to Xavier Restrepo, provided that Restrepo's hamstring is all right, in rookie minicamp when it takes place on May 9th and 10th. I don't know what day is specifically going to be open to media for that, but the 9th and the 10th are the 2 days that they have assigned for the Titans rookie minicamp. So I imagine you're going to see a great deal of that because that's what Cam Ward knows. And I'm sure he's going to be coaching up his new draft picks as well, and Chimere Dike and Alec Iamaner. Could they pick 2 tougher wide receivers names to say in back-to-back in the same round? Oluwafemi Oladejo almost rolls off the tongue compared to those 2 consecutively anyway. I am so curious to see who ends up making the final cut or the initial cut and in the wide receiver room, because the Treylon Burks thing, I don't think it's going to affect the math with the PUP stuff. And Restrepo, there's definitely a reason that the league was comfortable letting that guy go undrafted. I don't just think it's because he ran a 4.85 at his pro day. So we'll see how much more he can do, how much of a bet on himself he's making by coming here with his former Miami teammate and trying to make an NFL career out of it. 615-737-1045 is the number. Did the Titans do enough at wide receiver? You'll hear from Mike Borgonzi on the vets and the rookies coming up next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. Not even a question. Robert, sometimes the F&M Bank chat, where you can live stream the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, does a different show than the one we're currently doing. They are currently having a green dot conversation. It makes me want to grab them by their digital shoulders and just shake them. What the hell are you talking about? We did that for entirely too long last year. I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, come on. If we're going to have to talk about it again, we're going to have to discuss.
You already did your one gorilla versus 100 dudes fight type of situation. John Gruden tweeting that he's rooting for the gorilla. I'm also team gorilla.
I would hope that all the people having this conversation in the F&M Bank chat are the ones that would have to fight said gorilla.
Well, they won't have to fight for wide receivers because you got a plethora of them at this point in time. So I mentioned at the start of the show how many wide receivers were on the roster already. Calvin Ridley, Colton Dowell, Tay Martin, Mason Kinsey, Bryce Oliver, Jaquan Jackson, Treylon Burks finished the year on injured reserve. I would expect him to start the year on PUP. Perhaps his ACL repair surgery recovery is expedited and he's ready before the start of the regular season, but feels like a pretty safe option for them to just, put him on a shelf somewhere and not have to worry about him and give somebody else the roster spot. Now, to that, you add James Prochet, Van Jefferson, and Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett being the most viable of the three wide receivers that you added that can contribute in a meaningful way. Prochet has had moments as a returner. It's been a while since he's been a high-level one, but they're bringing in a variety of different options. You draft the two rookies, Chimere Dike out of Florida. Then later in that same round on day 3, in the 4th round, you add Alec Iomanner, the wide receiver out of Stanford, who many of you considered to be a draft crush. And the question becomes, all right, well, did the Titans do enough at wide receiver? Because really it's a question about, did the Titans do enough to support Cam Ward in year 1? Because it's about his development. It's about how much more progress he can make, how much more these veteran wide receivers can help him kind of get in a position where he's comfortable, and how much further he can bring along with him these rookie wide receivers and these undrafteds like Restrepo, who they've also added into the mix. So let's hear from Mike Borgonzi, Titans general manager, this audio from Monday about how the wide receivers can help Cam Ward's development as a rookie.
Yeah, anytime you get some young receivers in here and working with the quarterback, and really the whole quarterback room, they have to develop, and they have to develop a rapport in here. So we're trying to get young guys in here that can develop and grow as we build this roster.
I guess also with the fit, too, just maybe how those receivers fit with Cam's play style?
Yeah, well, going back to Lockett, he's a guy that, a lot of extended plays that Cam has, or any of these quarterbacks really, when they work outside the pocket, Tyler's one of those guys that you can just find those open areas in those scramble drills, and you saw that over the years with Russell as well. DK is a guy that can stretch the field. Alex is a bigger receiver. He's productive in the red zone, big catch radius, and then Gunnar Helm that we took as well too. Big savvy route runner. Good in the red zone. Also, provides a quarterback a big catch radius as well, and he's got good run after the catch too.
So that is Mike Borgonzi on both the rookie wide receivers coming in here and the veteran wide receivers that they've added. Lockett is at an advanced age, and I saw he did an interview with Jimmy Wyatt of the team's website. We have not talked to any of the free agents that they've added, which is a new thing for us. I don't like that, obviously. I would like to speak to these players. I know that's something that, much ado was made about. Well, the Titans are keeping their free agents and Jimmy's getting exclusives and this, that, and the other, whereas Jim Wyatt is seeking out a lot of these people of his own. PR is not setting him up for that, but that's, inside baseball type of stuff. I'm hoping to talk to them at some point before we get to voluntary work or mandatory minicamp or the rest of it, because I have a lot of questions for guys like Tyler Lockett and Dan Moore Jr. and everybody else that they've brought in. Best wide receiver addition that the Titans made is... You're talking about 5 players in free agency in the draft, 6 with Restrepo, to a room that had 7 wide receivers already in it. My favorite is probably Restrepo because I just like the idea of it. If you can get any kind of productivity out of Cam Ward and Xavier Restrepo working together, it's not Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. It's not Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Waddle. But it is something with promise, even if people are bent out of shape about the 40-yard dash. And to those people, I would say it's not that deep. But there's a part of me that wants to say Lockett, even though I know he doesn't get yards after the catch. He's just reliable. I'm just looking for somebody who's reliable, somebody who can consistently make plays for their quarterback. I don't need him to get 5, 10, 15 yards after the catch. I know he's captain two-hand touch, but that's how he ends up playing 17 games because he doesn't get hurt. He goes down immediately. And it's a huge part of what's made him so durable, even though he's getting ready to be in year 33. Well, not year 33. He's been in the league for a decade plus at this point, but he's going to be 33 years old. And I see the graphics that CBS Sports put out that show the notable, as they put it, wide receivers, veteran wide receivers that the Titans have added in the last 10 years. I forgot that I covered Josh Gordon for like 2 weeks. I forgot that Josh Gordon was in a Titans uniform.
When are they going to bring him up? When is he going to get to play? You don't remember all that?
I remember. Well, I do, but like I saw the graphic and I was like, oh my God, I forgot that I spent 3 weeks covering Josh Gordon before he did nothing for the team and wasn't even a rosterable player in a lot of these situations. Golden Tate, the same. Andre Johnson was my first year. Hop was the most successful of them. Julio was the most heralded of them. Hopkins getting to 1,000 yards is something nobody had done here since AJ, and it's not like there's a ton of 1,000-yard receivers in the Titans era of football. But I don't think Lockett has to be a 1,000-yard guy. I don't think he has to be DeAndre Hopkins in 2023 to make the Lockett signing worthwhile, and for that to be the best edition of them. Now, it's easy to go with Iomanner because of the Travis Hunter highlights. Did you know that he had as good a game against Travis Hunter in 2023 as he did?
I did.
Prior to the draft? Or I guess prior to that being cited all over the draft coverage?
I learned that in the review study when I was looking at Alec, probably in January.
TN Berg on YouTube says, Alec for sure. Dude put up 275 on Travis Hunter. I would point out that it's not all on Travis Hunter, but he did have a great game against Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter had one of his worst games while Iomanner had probably the best game of his career.
And I would have to go back and watch it, but Hunter also does some things that I'm interested to see if he'll be able to do it in college. But he is an expert baiter where where he stop looking at me like that.
Would you say that he's a master
at baiting things potentially? So he would make moves.
That's as much as I've ever gotten you to backpedal on something like that.
Squirming, dude. He will make it look like, hey, I'm gonna bend over here, I'm gonna break over here, and you're like, I've got him beat over the top. So you throw the ball, but then he has the excessive speed to come back and make a play on the ball.
Also, his catch radius is so stupid. It's unbelievable.
That was nullified against Alec. So yes. That is one of my bigger things about that game. And again, I'd have to go back and watch it. But was he trying to bait and got caught too many times and broken for explosive plays?
Or was he simply trying to master the art of baiting?
Do this segment. Why am I the one being the straight man? You have flipped the script.
Oh, it's no fun for you, is it? Where I come in here every day ready to play the straight man. I do it to you a couple of times. You don't like the nonsense when I turn it on you?
No, the bosses are back. Why would you do this when the bosses are back?
I thought you were the boss, big tough guy.
Bosses have bosses.
Oh, no.
I'm a medium boss.
Yeah. Anyway, in year one, like for immediate 2025 implications, it's probably Lockett to me, just because I want somebody that Cam Ward can trust. I want more players that Cam Ward can trust. And I'm so curious. It took Ridley and Levis forever to figure it out. And you could argue that they never really figured it out. But Ridley ended up getting his side of the quarterback receiver dynamic more ironed out than Levis ever did at any point throughout the course of the season. So much so that with two of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL last year, Calvin Ridley was still able to produce a 1,000-yard season, which is a credit to him. He had drops at the start. It wasn't ideal. He deserves some blame for that. I think he also deserves a tremendous amount of credit for working through that and still finding ways to be a productive player at that point in time. But as far as additions go, Iomanner and DK, they're developmental. They're going to take a little more time to vibe with the quarterback. Tyler Lockett is here to make him feel more secure, more comfortable, more confident right out of the gate. Not that he needs confidence, or he seems to be perfectly comfortable being uncomfortable in Cam Ward's situation. When you've worked through as many situations as Cam Ward has, fair to expect that would be a developed characteristic. But I think it's Tyler. My favorite addition this year is Tyler Lockett. We'll see what becomes of Iomanner and DK.
I would agree with that. Also, if you were to make a bet that Xavier Restrepo would have a Kyle Phillips-like Week 1 appearance.
Oh, my God.
How high
I thought Kyle Phillips was going to be so good.
Dude, he caught like 11 balls that game.
Against the Giants, he was great. And then fat Randy Bullock, respectfully, couldn't close it out. Saquon Barkley also just went crazy. That was one of the first great Saquon games that he had since the injury stuff. And he's really been such a fantastic player since he's come through the other side of the injury stuff that plagued him at the start of his Giants career. But there was a great Saquon game, a great Kyle Phillips game, and a bad Fat Randy game.
The Ravens also had a game like this. Do you remember Ravens legend Danny Woodhead?
I do.
Danny Woodhead's first game with Baltimore. He caught like 8 balls, got hurt, never was heard from again. Unfortunate.
I mean, he had to have been 30, 31 by the time he got to Baltimore, right?
I don't know. I was tickled about the signing, though. As soon as it came through, I was like, oh, yeah, bring on Danny Woodhead, man.
Dixie on YouTube says of that Giants Week 1 game, that was infuriating. Yeah, I mean, infuriating for a variety of different reasons. Infuriating because Fat Randy couldn't make the field goal. Infuriating because your run defense that you're supposed to be really good at was nowhere to be found in Week 1. And infuriating because it made you think that Kyle Phillips was going to be the next coming of the next great tiny white slot receiver. And then, every time he was hit after the fact, he just spontaneously combusted. And now he's a Super Bowl champion with the Philadelphia Eagles. Tough scene. 615-737-1045. Back to the phone calls in a second. A quick reminder that 1045 The Zone has teamed up with Game Terminal for their 4th annual Beer Fest on Saturday, May the 17th. You can get ready for a day filled with beer, cider, and alcohol tastings, games, fun, and excitement. Buy your tickets now for $40 or $50 at the door. Beer tastings, gift bag, and swag will be included with each purchase, and a portion of proceeds will go to the Nashville Humane Association, which is, of course, an incredible cause. For more information or to purchase tickets online, visit 1045thezone.com/events today.
Lucas will be there. I'll be there. Buck will. Maybe.
What's in it for me? Am I being paid to be there?
You can taste all of the liquor and beer that's available.
Do they have tequila? Because I see
Yes.
beer, and that's not appealing
Yes,
to me.
as I was told from...
Or cider. I've never understood why people like hard cider. That's just a hangover in a bottle.
Would you like a alcoholic apple juice? Like, that's tough for me.
I like apple juice just fine. I don't like apple juice that makes me feel like I got a concussion the next day.
How come we don't have that for orange juice? Shouldn't we have an alcoholic? I guess it's a screwdriver. Anyway, Lucas will be there. I'll be there. And I was told that there would be liquor samples. So come on down and see if there's tequila.
I'm open for negotiations. TBD. 615-737-1045. Dr. Detroit is next. What's up, Doc?
Captain, my captain, how are you guys doing?
We're great.
Great. I record CBS morning show with James Pauly every Sunday in 60 Minutes. I'm pretty sure after the Belichick interview, that's going to put a damper in their marriage, do you think?
Oh, him and his girlfriend? Yeah, that seems to be
right.
causing some strife in the relationship for sure.
Oh yeah, I think so. There's some sparks are going on. Yeah, but man, she just snapped. No, there's no need for you to know that information. I'm like, wow, man, the 24-year-old's got spunk. I like it. What do you think about the Pistons ruining the Knicks' game last night?
I enjoyed it, and I appreciate the call, Doc. I have been curious about the NBA playoff series going on. The best series has been between the Clippers and the Nuggets, although it's way too late for most people to stay up. I've just happened to catch a couple of those games. Pistons able to get it done last night in the Garden. Now you got to go back to Detroit and get it done. Cade Cunningham is just a stud. He's only like 23 years old. You said you watched some of the NBA last night?
I watched Pacers-Bucks. The Bucks choked away the game. Gary Trent Jr., 2 late turnovers, and then Tyrese Halliburton just skirt, all the way to the basket, gets his 2. They win by 1 in overtime. And then Giannis and Tyrese Halliburton's dad getting into it.
Yeah, I saw that.
That is such a weird position to me because, should his dad have been available to be on the court to be harassed by Giannis? Maybe not.
Probably not.
But should Giannis have went chest to chest with Tyrese Halliburton's dad? I don't know. Somebody try to fight my dad, I'm going to fight you. We might as well fight. They're going to have to suspend me for the 2 games for the next series or whatever it is.
Duck on YouTube says, Angry Orchard plus Fireball.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Trust me, bro.
God.
Yeah, I trust that's going to put you in a ditch.
Oh, that sounds. Why would I just drink
sugar.
a 4 Loco?
Somebody. So I had some people invite me to go out after the draft on Saturday night, and I ended up, God help me, at Broadway. I'd never set foot in Morgan Wallen's bar, but they had an area of it blocked off called the Skybox, so I didn't have to actually be in the Broadway bar. I could be above the Broadway bar, lording over all the people in the Broadway bar.
I know you love that.
It was delightful. Also open bar, which I loved. But somebody was taking advantage of the open bar and bought me a Fireball shot or got me a Fireball shot for the first time, I think, since my junior year of college, and I retched a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough. That's one of the ones everyone has. Like, I don't drink Busch beer because I drank it out of kegs for 6 years in college. You know what I mean? I'm not going to drink things that I don't like. Fireball is on that list. Alcoholic dish soap.
Didn't it used to have antifreeze in it or something like that at the start of it?
I don't know.
Something.
No.
Fireball's never going to spend money with us anyway. What do you know? You don't know that. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up and tell me. Look it up and tell me about the antifreeze and the Fireball coming up next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is such a great resource. It's been such a great resource for guys over the last decade plus working here in Middle Tennessee. And at some point in your life, as your body starts to change, as you start to age, you may be feeling like you've got a little less energy. You may be feeling like performance issues have started to pop up, and you may have resigned yourself to the fact that those things just happen. It doesn't have to be that way. Whether it's low energy or those performance issues that I mentioned, those aren't inevitable, and in fact, solutions exist. The Tennessee Men's Clinic difference is that there's no guesswork and no gimmicks, just real science and effective treatments. Because you don't want to mess with online fixes that oftentimes give you generic pills that are overpriced and most times ineffective. They will offer you at the Tennessee Men's Clinic personalized treatment plans with multiple urologists and providers on hand to tailor solutions specifically to your body and to your goals. Their men's services are comprehensive, whether it's ED treatments or testosterone and other options that many guys don't even know exist. Call them today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or visit them online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com today. I found the lawsuit. This is from CBS Mornings. Speaking of Jane Pauley, IU alum, by the way, Jane Pauley. Very much respected journalist. Whiskey pulled over antifreeze ingredient on CBS Mornings from 2014. Ironically, pulled over antifreeze ingredient in Europe, but not in the U.S. So, America, baby, America, we just keep drinking that terrible cinnamon fireball antifreeze while the Europeans are looking around being like, what are we doing here?
So propylene glycol. And there are a ton of things in Europe, or things here, that they don't sell in Europe because of that. Like all the food dyes, the Red 40 and all that. Like I think it's like Skittles you can't get over there, or it's a different variation of Skittle because of all the color dyes that are used in it.
They did do away with food dye here recently in the U.S. as well, and things like Fruit Loops and Skittles and stuff like that. Which apparently is a good thing. I'm not super familiar with the health impacts of the red food dye and things like that. I just know it's something that people on Instagram and my aunt on Facebook has been complaining about for.
That's why these kids are so hyped up, all this Red 40 in their sugary drinks.
Yeah, something like that.
Who knows, man? Like, I feel like this
or they're just children and they don't know anything, and children do dumb things and are hyperactive anyway. Like, I don't know.
Like, it is so draining to me to constantly be told, oh, you can't eat this. It's got a lot of microplastics in it. Oh, you don't eat that. That's got stuff in it that I'm going to die anyway. You know what I mean? How long do we have? I might as well drink the chocolate protein shakes that I like, and to hell with the microplastics, to hell with the Red 40, to hell with all of that.
So I guess Robert Kennedy was able to get rid of the food dye.
That's correct, Buck.
What is that?
That was my RFK impression.
Okay, now talk about autism in that voice.
No, I will not.
Yeah,
I will not.
You probably produced the same thing as RFK did the other day. Anyway, 615-737-1045, the number. Last call for phone calls if you got them. Let's go to Jeremy in Nashville.
Hey, good afternoon, Buck. Before Fireball, there was Aftershock, and then there was Goldschlager.
Oh.
So if you were brave enough to take some shots of that stuff, then that right there was what paved the way for all of those disgusting cinnamon-flavored drinks.
Well, didn't Goldschlager, because, like, I know Goldschlager from Superbad, where it's Goldschlick, I guess, to avoid copyright issues,
right.
not Goldschlager. But were there actual, like, flakes of metallic?
No, hell no. You are just like my dumb buddies in high school.
It was in the movie. I don't know.
They were like, man, we could filter this, take the gold out, and then sell it, go back and get another bottle. No, why would they do that? What's the guy? I got to look it up. Hold on, I'm stammering.
Gets to the microphone, starts to peter out, stops making words. All right, I got to look it up. Stall for me. Okay, I got you. The only thing, I was never a Fireball person. In college, before they took the ingredients out of them that were giving people actual heart attacks, I was a Four Loko person. Four Loko.
Oh, stop it,
Oh,
Buck.
I shotgunned.
You trash.
No, not even. Yeah, listen, I was a different person before. You find out who people really are when they get money. Before money, I'm a gas station Four Loko guy. I remember my freshman year of college, somebody coming up to me with a beer bong and a Four Loko, and I did it, and then I immediately blacked out afterwards. It's probably the worst I've ever felt in my entire life.
I cannot remember what this liquor is called, but I had friends who were bartenders, and they would pour it for you. It was like a Christmas tasting drink, a clear liquor, and it would be all Christmassy. And I remember standing up and thinking I was peeing in somebody's bathroom, but I was peeing in their laundry basket.
You talking about gin?
No, not gin. I love gin. All the aromatics. No, it's somebody in the chat is going to know, and I'm going to be reminded in the middle of polls. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, the Four Loko period of my life was dark times, but it was also the Panama City Beach part of my life, which we never have to talk about, and hopefully there's no photographic evidence of or documentation of, and we never have to speak about these things ever again. Somebody is suggesting Jaeger?
No, not Jaeger.
Schnapps?
Not Schnapps.
You're a Rumpelmintz guy?
We're Rumpelmintz. There we go. It does not start with an S. Scott, bring back Fireball. I wish I wouldn't have closed it out. Dun, 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 dun. Good job, man. Yes, Rumpelmintz.
Only because somebody threatened me with a Rumpelmintz shot this weekend, and I said no.
Have you ever had it before?
Sure. I used to go to Tin Roof all the time. When Josh Griffin was running Tin Roof, I think I paid rent there.
Rumpelmintz? If you want to find out if somebody can hang, give them a Rumplemitz at the start of the night before they
the start of the night
before they have any buffer. If they can tank a Rumplemitz to start their night off, they're a real one.
No, the only worse thing I've done than a sober Rumplemitz shot is we did, because every 12 or 13-year-old watches Jackass for the first time and does a bunch of dumb things like the guys on Jackass do. So we took grain alcohol, Everclear. I can't remember. Well, I can't remember what it was called, and you had to see who could hold it in just the liquid in your mouth long enough before you spit it out. It would peel the skin off the inside of your mouth. It was disgusting.
Wow. Yeah, it was probably Everclear. In Indiana, I assume we're still allowed to sell that. They banned it in North Carolina. But my dad used to procure some fruit moonshine where it would have fruit floating in it. And whenever I stole it and took it, you'd always be like, hey, eat some of this fruit. Eat this pineapple ring. But it's been soaking in grain alcohol. So it's terrible. It's like eating a Listerine-flavored fruit.
Somebody is asking in the chat if Tin Roof is gone. No, Tin Roof's not gone. I haven't been there in a while. It's just been a little. Other than for lunch, they have delightful quesadillas. No free ads. Ready for some polls?
These polls, sponsored by Two Rivers Ford, the most trusted Ford dealership in all of the South, this side of the Mississippi. Is that what they say? What percentage?
Why is every impression Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey? I don't understand.
This is my Southern debonair lawyer sipping a mint julep. It's like there's a cylindrical item in the top of their mouth where they can't fully put their tongue to the roof of their mouth.
It's like Talladega Nights. Why do you sound like a dog with peanut butter on the roof of his mouth? Ricky Bobby.
What percentage chance do you give Trailon Burks of making the initial 53-man roster? Darren Schaefer says the answer's 0. Karen, 0.5%. David Jeremy, 100%. He's already paid for. Plus, he consistently shows out in OTAs. Where do you stand, Buck?
He's not going to be able to participate in OTAs or training camp, it sounds like, because he's got an ACL recovery situation going on. I mean, he's going to be on PUP, I would imagine, which doesn't make him on the 53-man roster, but he's not off the 53-man roster. So I guess that's kind of a loophole in the question that I posed.
What was the biggest value pick of the Titans draft? John Feely chiming in with Jackson Slater. There's a chance that he could compete for the starting center job if Cush isn't ready to go. We'll also get to learn under Zeitler. And we got somebody saying Cam Ward can't put a price on a franchise quarterback. They didn't have to give up any future assets to get Cam Ward. That's a big deal. Usually in these times, if you want to move up, you got to give up some pretty picks.
Yeah, and they didn't even have to give up draft capital when they traded up with the Ravens to go get Iomanner, which, again, you've explained, but I think a lot of Titans fans looked around and be like, did we just get reparations for Derrick Henry? Did they just do us a favor?
Whatever floats your boat.
I think you'd much rather have Derrick Henry.
I'll refuse to decline invitation to that. What is the biggest position of need for the Titans?
What kind of words did you just try to put together to make a sentence?
I had a little stroke there. Brian says that they need to address linebacker. John Feely again with edge rusher. Got a lot of edge in here. A middle linebacker, one we didn't talk about, but it's certainly on my list. They had an addition in free agency, but are you really expecting Otis Reese to make a notable start for the Titans at the second inside linebacker position?
I mean, if it's Cody Barton, right, the linebacker that they brought in free agency with Cedric Graves, a fourth-round pick, James Williams, and Otis Reese, I don't know. I mean, you don't want him to spend more money there, do you? If you've got one guy that can be your three-down linebacker in Barton, then the rest of it's just kind of sub-package stuff.
Sure. What is the dumbest thing in sports this week? Kalina Style chiming in with James Gladstone. Together, he and Cohen are the kitten twins of cringe. Ashley said Puka's UFL brother slapping a fan. Fans can be obnoxious and stupid, but you can't slap them.
Yes, you can.
And Eugene says anything worse than Sanders and other draftees receiving prank calls?
Yeah, I mean, Jack Zolbrick, pretty dumb. Pretty dumb.
How many yards is he going to have to mow to pay his dad back that $100K?
I saw somebody, and I would not wish violence upon.
Vacation is canceled.
Yeah, vacation's canceled. As somebody who has probably needed an ass kicking in my life at various points, that kid needs an ass kicking. Those are the polls?
Those are the polls.
Very good. That's going to do it for us tonight. Prime time this evening, 7 p.m., A to Z Sports. We will dive in more to the roster needs that the Titans still have in the post-draft process. You can check that out wherever you get your live stream broadcast. And if not, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning with Chad Brinker at 10 a.m.